Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts with someone pushing themselves off the ground, covered in blood, as a winged man stands before him. He says, God is dead. Humanity worshipped gold and revered arcane engineering until finally they turned themselves into slaves. The man holds a sword, asking how this is fair. His opponent has his sword covered in aura, and the man leaps at him anyway, asking why this is even a thing. He screams while swinging his sword, only for us to see a giant explosion from his opponent straight diffing him. We learn that it's the best modern apocalyptic fantasy game, called Arcane Soul. The man's screaming, saying that this game is garbage pay to win. His name is Kim Jo-Soo, and he is a 22-year-old college student. His enemy says he did pretty decently for free to play, but it sucks to be him, and he was literally playing on auto mode the entire time. His ID is called Rich Heavenly Demon Chan. Jo-Soo insults him, and the Heavenly Demon starts to finish the fight, saying it was pretty fun and he's never seen a free-to-play do so well. Jo-Soo is in public, and he's hella pissed by this. He screams, asking how it's fair that even though he spent 10,000 hours on the game, someone who just spends a couple thousand can beat his progress. He lets out a sigh, saying he was the idiot for wasting his time on this dogshit game, and he should just go do his dailies, so he can actually finish his homework. He's a no-lifer that does his dailies regardless of how much he hates the game. He starts to do a free pull, and he says that it's probably just going to be as ass as the last one and give him another warrior Kim. He draws it, and he is surprised by it. As we see a platinum chest on his screen, his heart starts to race, and then the realization sets in after he sees the character he gets is none other than the Heavenly Demon, which is an SSR rank. He asks how the hell he pulled this, as it's the best character in the entire game. The chances of pulling him on a free pull are insanely low, there are a lot of zeros in there. He starts to dance in public, saying that this shit is now the game of the year, and he should get to raising the Heavenly Demon. We learn that the easiest way to level a character inside of Arcane Soul is to use the characters you've raised as experience. Now he's no longer jealous of the whales, and he's going to use all of the warrior Kims he's pulled throughout his thousands of hours to raise his Heavenly Demon's level. We see it pouring into him, with each one of the warrior Kims being consumed. He says it's time to now experience the same game that the whales have been playing. But bro forgot that he was in public and begins to walk straight into traffic. When he turns to his right, it's, of course, our friendly neighborhood truck coon. He drops his phone, saying this is a familiar event. When he opens his eyes, he's looking up at a ceiling, confused, and he wonders why he's in a hospital. His head starts to hurt, and he remembers the fact that he walked into traffic like a moron and almost got isekai'd. He shouldn't have been careless in the first place. A woman enters the room, calling him Warrior Kim, and is surprised that he's awake. He asks what she's talking about, and she says she'll call the doctor. He wonders why she's calling him that name, and when he looks at his name chart, it actually says Warrior Kim, and he suffered a dislocation and concussion due to the accident. He wonders what kind of mistake this is and lets out a sigh, guessing that he did feel guilty about dusting his Warrior Kims for experience but wonders why his name is Warrior Kim on the sign chart. He tries to stand up but feels immense pain in his leg and screams hella loud. The nurse runs in, saying he can't move yet, and he asks why it hurts so much. His doctor says he was hit by a truck and got off quite lightly. Jo-Soo asks what they're talking about, and the doctor says they need to run some more tests, and he needs to get an MRI and a magical vision test. He hears the word magic and wonders what the hell they're talking about, thinking he's suffering a stroke. At the front desk, they're conducting the fees for his room, as well as the other medical things they had to do, like CT scans. They tell him it's going to be 22.3 million won, which is about $16,000. He says he was here for 4 days, so how is it so much money? The woman reminds him he has no insurance, so he has to pay it himself. He asks what she's talking about, saying that every Korean has national health insurance. She asks what he's talking about, saying that he doesn't have Legion insurance or Magic Tower insurance. He's confused, wondering what the hell she's talking about, but he recognizes these terms, wondering where he's heard them before. Legion, Megacorp, Magic Tower, Holy Order, these are the 4 factions that dominate Arcane Soul. This is one of the settings of the game. In a world where God had abandoned humanity, arcane science drastically developed, and the earth got overrun by monsters, and humans modified their bodies to survive. Bro starts to disassociate, saying, nah. The TLDR is that it's just a very hard world to survive in. He's looking up an alleyway and screaming, asking why the hell he had to enter this game. He says he went to sleep happy, having pulled the heavenly demon, but to think he ended up becoming a tutorial character. Maybe this is divine punishment for dusting all his old characters. He finally makes it to Warrior Kim's home, saying this shit is smaller than his bathroom, and he wonders why this dude is so poor. He sits on the bed, saying his body is injured, and he has no money, and he wonders what to do. He thinks about it, saying if this is actually Arcane Soul, soon events like nuclear wars, dimensional rifts, and even the revival of the old gods will occur, and this place will become a living hell. He doesn't know how he ended up here, but if he stays put, he will die 100%. He then realizes something, and what this means. He grabs a pen and raises it above his hand. He looks down, and he says he needs to check it before it's too late. He looks hesitant about it, and then he stabs the top of his hand as hard as he can, impaling it. He screams as he pulls out the pen, and he actually went all the way through. Immediately, a green aura begins to circulate around his wound, healing it, and he says he knew it would work. He obtained a trait called Wound Recovery, and the reason he raised countless Warrior Kims is because it is a free tutorial character, and it's the only character without a base trait. However, you can unlock traits and switch them out so you can raise Warrior Kims with freedom. For someone like him, who relied on strategy, Warrior Kim was the best way for him to play because he couldn't get rare characters. That means that now he is him. He can get any trait as long as he works hard to get it. All of his wounds begin to recover from the skill. He explains that in Arcane Soul, you die if you're poor or powerless or if you run out of luck. But he won't let that happen to him. He has the knowledge from having wasted 10,000 hours as a player. We see his rank jump from 115,000 down to the 7,000s, eventually to the triple digits, and then to the single digits, with him standing above monsters, now as rank 9, not sure what this means, but we'll find out. He then starts to walk to a talent agency, saying with Warrior Kim's body, this shit is free low. At the player personnel section, we see a man looking at his paper, asking Jo An-soo if this is his first time at a player personnel office. Jo An-soo says yes, and he plans on joining the mana purification business. He needs to earn money for his free shitty gacha game like this since he only has his body. This is the only thing he can do to earn money. The man puts his feet up on the table, saying it may be called mana purification, but asks him if he understands what dungeon clearing really entails. He is the player personnel director named Choi Seon-soo. Jo An-soo says he is aware. Seon-soo asks if he is sure, and laughs, saying there is nothing on his resume. Jo An-soo says of course he understands how this shitty game works and that contained mana is the reason that monsters took over Arcane Soul in the first place. Dungeon clearing is the act of cleaning up trash that emits a large amount of contained mana. Rather than the typical dungeon clearing that we are used to where they clear only monsters, extended exposure to the mana can result in death, as it tears away your humanity, turning you into something else, which is known as a mutation, making the work very dangerous. Seon-soo says fine, and as soon as they have enough people, he will let him get assigned to a team. Jo An-soo thanks him, and the man asks if he is really sure about this. Does anyone else think he looks like Jet Black from Cowboy Bebop? He says that he has seen plenty of people like him enter this work for money and return completely dead on the inside. Jo An-soo laughs, saying not to worry as he will be better off than he is. Seon-soo is confused, and Jo An-soo says that working his ass off as a free-to-play player is his expertise. He meets his labor leader, and his name is Deer. He asks Jo An-soo if he is the newbie joining them. Jo An-soo says he guesses so, and he is only here because he was assigned. Deer grabs onto his collar, asking if this looks like a playground to him, asking if he's worth the determination behind his eyes. He better not beg him to save him after he mutates, because if he spots the first sign of it, he will kill him. Jo An-soo says he will keep it in mind, and that this is the same as his reality. People always try to scare the newbies, but he wonders why the R-ranked character Deer is here. He says this is what he looked like before his awakening, as his legs were normal too. Somebody else enters, telling Deer this isn't something he should do to the newbies, and they are already short on personnel. His name is Hedgehog, and he has 5 years of dungeon cleaning experience. Deer clicks his tongue, saying that if he will be able to help them, it would just be nice if he is not a nuisance. Then he tells them all they have 4 hours to clean up 5 locations, and they need to move fast. Jo An-soo wonders what his deal is, saying he is a lot harsher than he is in the game. Hedgehog tells him not to be too bothered, as he might be rough on the outside, but he is a nice guy. Jo An-soo says okay, and we see that their first area is a landfill where all the trash is. They all complain about how much it reeks, and they can't get used to it. Deer tells everybody he is going to open the door, and to get ready. He activates his keycard, and immediately on the inside, they see it as filthy. Deer tells everybody to get into position, as there are mobs in the dungeon clearing process, and they are lower rank monsters called contaminated slimes that live here in the trash. Jo An-soo explains that the basis of cleaning up contaminated mana and monsters is getting rid of these slimes. Although they are weak, the reason why they are difficult is that after you cut them in half, they multiply, and they won't die until you find the little mana core in their bodies. The group starts to get overwhelmed, and they don't understand how they are meant to find the cores like this. Jo An-soo starts to run in and tells them to stay back. He leaps into the air with his shovel, and tells his co-worker that he is not taking responsibility for this. He shovels straight between his legs, breaking the mana core, almost ending this guy's future. Jo An-soo grins, saying this is perfect, and it is time for him to get warmed up. He continues dashing around the room, cutting their cores one by one, getting rid of them before they can hurt his team. And he is doing this all with only a shovel rather than a weapon. Deer looks over, and so does Hedgehog, as another co-worker is saying that he is killing the slime so fast, and they ask if this is even possible as they see him flying in for a giant one. Jo An-soo grins, saying of course it is. When we get a flashback to 2 days ago, and he wonders where something is as we see him crawling around on the floor, and it's in the middle of a playground. He says that it should be around here, and then he spots it, saying he found it. He picks up the coin off the ground, and he obtains the trait called Treasure Hunt, and he gets happy, saying he got the most important trait for Warrior Kim. He starts to dance around praising the coin he picked up, and the mother covers her eyes, saying he needs to think about happy thoughts. He learned a few important rules while gathering necessary traits. As we see him vomiting into a garbage can, as he has put himself in the middle of Asmongold's room, he acquires another trait called Contamination Resistance. He says this one was the hardest so far. Obtaining traits works the same as the game, as long as he satisfies the conditions. He looks at the traits, and he explains that there can only be a total of 6 equipped traits, and you can swap between them whenever you want. Thanks to the treasure hunter, he can now see the mana cores of the slimes, which is how he is disposing of them so easily, which includes a giant one. There's another one harassing his group as it shoots out a lot of goo, and Deer tells everybody to be careful not to get hit. But Jo An-soo just walks through it all, saying that his hard work is paying off as he is resistant to the contamination. I would not stick my tongue out in this situation. It jumps to them after work, on the bus going home. Jo An-soo says even with the help of all the traits, working all day is still rough. Hedgehog says he's surprised they're going home early thanks to him, and just watching him was amazing, asking if he is waiting to awaken like Deer. Jo An-soo laughs, saying it's nothing like that, he just knows how to work a shovel due to his military experience. Hedgehog tells him that's amazing as he grows horns, and Jo An-soo says his mutation symptoms are getting worse, and it looks like he's been exposed to too much contaminated mana. Jo An-soo tells him that he doesn't look too good, and he should rest at home. And Hedgehog laughs, saying he'd rather become a mutant than face his debt collectors. Jo An-soo says it makes sense why he wants the job, as there are not many people who want it. It jumps to a whole 4-day time skip, and he says they're all done, and that everybody looks tired, thanks to constantly having to clean. Somebody is vomiting their guts out, and it's none other than Hedgehog, who is getting worse and worse, and Jo An-soo says he warned him not to push himself too much. And Deer says the only reason he's still ready to go is because he's young, and he never thought he'd do his part in the first place, telling him good work. Jo An-soo says it's thanks to everybody, but in reality, it's only thanks to his traits. Jo An-soo says that Deer is holding on pretty well, and it must be because he is in our rank. They then hear screams, and he turns to see Hedgehog beginning to have a black aura around him. His co-workers say his spine is changing and ask if he's okay, but Deer runs in, asking what's going on, and Jo An-soo understands now too. Deer is trying to tell Hedgehog to stay awake, and that they need to get out of here, but Hedgehog's mutation is too much, as he begins to turn into a monster and explodes the area. Jo An-soo says shit is about to get real. As Hedgehog's foot stomps the ground, we see he has completely lost his humanity, turning into his name, aka a giant hedgehog, and he begins to foam out of the mouth like a rabid dog. Jo An-soo says all of his sanity is gone, and if they can't defeat him, they won't be able to escape. Since all the new traits he has are specialized for monster cleaning, he has nothing that's going to help in combat. No matter how much he thinks about this situation, he does not know what he can do to get out of it, so he has to cook up something. The first attack comes in towards Jo An-soo, and he doesn't even block it as he gets clocked in the face, sending him flying straight into a wall. He begins to spit up blood, saying that the power difference is too big, and he might actually die. He obtains a trait called Endurance from this hit. He says that it's too early to give up, as long as he has these traits, and to survive, he has to think of anything he can to do this, and he needs to get rid of some of his traits now. He begins to select them, saying that strength will be helpful. Mana Heart will allow him to control his mana, and endurance will reduce all damage taken. Mana Absorption allows him to absorb mana, and Deep Respiration grants higher mana regen. Lastly, the final piece of this puzzle, Corruption Resistance. Now that he has gotten all of his traits in order, he is much more suited for combat now than he was before. Hedgehog starts to run at him while screaming, and Joansu activates Strength, which gives him a 10-fold power increase. He rears his shovel back and yells, hitting Hedgehog, knocking him straight into the air. He says that this is working, and he might actually be able to do this. As Hedgehog is still flying, he begins to spin like Sonic, and Joansu says that shit is illegal. As he kills his momentum and begins to head straight towards him, he bumps into a rock, sending him to go straight back up into the air. Joansu screams, asking what he is even meant to do in this situation, as he eats the attack, getting crushed by Hedgehog. Hedgehog then creates some distance while laughing, and then spots something as Joansu leaps up out of where he was attacked, using endurance, which makes his defense 10 times as strong. He says even with endurance, that shit still hurts. He gets ready for a punch, saying if he stops now, he will die, and begins to unleash a barrage of punches onto Hedgehog, as this is his only choice, to permanently attack him. One of Hedgehog's quills bends, and it shoots out, almost clipping Joansu. But that was just the first, as he unleashes an actual barrage, piercing Joansu's body all over with these quills and knocking him down to the floor. He says he just needs to do a little more, and he begins to run straight back in. Coming in for yet another punch, we see blood, as well as his clothes being sent across the field, as his hand just got absolutely obliterated by something. Joansu's confused, and Hedgehog prepares another quill attack, blowing off Joansu's entire arm. Joansu screams, and Hedgehog puts both of his fists together, coming down for the finishing blow. Joansu says this is as he expected, and he cannot win with Warrior Kim. As Hedgehog's fists come down, we see it hitting where Joansu was laying. We get a flashback to him playing the game on his phone. He says back when it was a game, it was all easy. All he needed to do was to press a single button to hunt down monsters, and he never thought about how the character would feel. He simply pushed his character into extremities under the pretext of efficient training. But now he understands exactly how he felt, and that it takes suffering to obtain even a mediocre trait. As we see, he has managed to block the attack after his hand has regenerated. He then goes in for a swift punch towards Hedgehog's head, sending him flying across the field. He says there is no way to win without paying a price, as he has been hopping on some trenbolone sandwiches, activating a trait called Mutant Muscle. There are still quills all in his body. Hedgehog hits a wall, and Joansu says the reason he went for reckless attacks was to obtain the trait. It was for the trait obtainable when surpassing the limit with Mana Heart and Strength, which was when they combine, and he activates Mutant Muscle. Hedgehog begins to run straight back in, and Joansu says all of the buildup was for this moment. He blocks Hedgehog's punch easily and begins to laugh and retaliate, saying that doesn't work anymore, and he dares him to hit him back. Hedgehog's fist begins to develop some quills as well, and he punches Joansu straight in the chest, causing him to hit the floor, turning him into Swiss cheese, putting holes all in his body. His intestines begin to regenerate, but they look like they are mutating as well. Hedgehog is confused, as Joansu has now unlocked the mutant body trait, making his body now match his colossal arms. He thanks Hedgehog, saying he needed this, and it was all thanks to his help. He runs in, and Hedgehog charges in, but Joansu doesn't back down, and they have a battle of strength as they are now on the same footing. Deer begins to regain consciousness and looks up, wondering what the hell is with all this noise, and he sees a straight brawl. It's like something out of a kaiju movie. He's surprised that it's Warrior Kim, asking if he was a superhuman or something, saying that a normal human can't fight against a mutant on equal footing. Both Joansu and Hedgehog knock each other away with their strength, and they both hit the floor at the exact same time. Joansu looks up, saying this is not so easy, and his size is similar, but at this rate, it's going to be a disadvantage. Hedgehog begins to scream, and Joansu says that it is dangerous, but he has no choice. He activates his trait called Contamination Resistance, which we already know what it is. He says that he has to believe in himself, only for him to delete the skill. Deer is surprised as Joansu's body begins to mutate just like Hedgehog's, and he begins to fight for his sanity as he begins his monsterification. His skin starts to turn red, and he lets out a primal roar, which scares Hedgehog. A magic circle appears above his mouth, and he lets out an absolute beam of a cannon directly at Hedgehog. Hedgehog tries to block it, but it is futile, as he gets sent flying hella far away. Deer wonders what that is, and we see a giant ogre-like version of Joansu look down at him, and he says he can't believe he became a mutant while fighting one, asking how this is even possible. But to Joansu, it's just another trait called mutant. Deer says, "Holy shit," wondering what the hell this is, and he starts to crawl away from Joansu, thinking he has to get out of here. Joansu continues to growl and stretches his hand out directly towards Deer. Deer closes his eyes out of fear, only to hear Joansu coughing and groaning. When he opens his eyes, he sees Joansu standing above him, panting, as he is now back to a human. Then, he falls face first in front of him, saying that he did it. We learn that his corruption resistance is the last line of defense. If you're in possession of mutant form and mutant muscles, and you delete the resistance, you will get mutant. The common belief is that once you turn into one, you cannot change back, but he knew otherwise, and he needed to get that, and he knew that he would be able to change the trait as long as he was able to think reasonably, even for a little bit. So even though his body was melting apart and rebuilding over and over, and the pain was unbearable, he still fought for his sanity, which is how he was able to switch out corruption resistance for his mutant skill. We get a nice aerial view of where they're cleaning up, and Joansu looks gassed out. He says it felt like all of his muscles and bones were moving around, and he doesn't ever want to go through that again. He shakily stands back up, walking over to Hedgehog's body. A purple orb comes out of Hedgehog's mouth. Joansu grabs it, and we learn that it's a level 1 mana core, and he starts to have a shit-eating grin, saying that it was all worth it. He starts to dance, saying cleaning sure is profitable. Deer asks him if he's okay, saying he became a mutant, asking what happened. Joansu says it'll be annoying if there are strange rumors, so he just says that he kind of gambled on being able to turn back, and he was really lucky. Deer is surprised, saying that was way too risky, and Joansu hands him some level 0 mana core since he just got a level 1. He says that he wants to head back now and get some fresh air, and everybody is surprised since he saved their lives and even gave them some mana cores, hoping they'll keep his secret. But Deer looks at him suspiciously. Back at Seonsu's building, we see him starting to hella glaze Joansu. Joansu wonders what's with all the ass kissing. Seonsu says that he should have said something if he was a superhuman, and they would have given him proper work instead of this. Joansu now understands why he's glazing him. In Arcane Soul, a superhuman awakens an ability allowing them to obtain powerful mana. In a world like this, where strength is power and authority, superhumans are basically the nobles. But it makes sense that he'd think that, since you need to be a superhuman to defeat mutants. Although in his case, it's just poor game design due to him being able to get traits. Seonsu reaches into his pocket, saying he should pay him for the cleanup, and Joansu says that would be nice and tries to remain calm, but inside, he has that grin, saying he'll let him think he's a superhuman for now. Seonsu pulls out a ton of money, saying he cleaned up 5 regions, and they take 20% of the fees from the total of 50 million won. If they divide that up to how many people were in the group, he would be giving him 5, but they'll do it differently this time. As he sets a whole lot of money on the table, he says they'll only be taking 5% of fees from his share and even giving him a bonus of 12 million. Joansu's grin takes on a whole new level, resembling Lloyd. Bro's tongue even turns into a heart. Now, he walks out of the room singing, and somebody says it seems like he's in a really good mood, and the guy says that he must have been paid a lot. Joansu says yes, since they finished the job, and he recognizes him as one of the people he worked with. The guy says the reason he's here is because he wants to ask a favor. Joansu asks what he means, and the guy says that his wife is actually sick, and he's wondering if he can lend him some money. And he's sorry to ask for this when they don't even know one another. Joansu says it's not a good idea to help others when he doesn't know anything about them, and he might even stab him in the back, as it's hard enough to support himself right now. Joansu grabs the man's hand as he is begging him, saying that he is much older than him, so he doesn't need to do this. And although it's not a lot, he can use this, as he hands him a lot of level 0 mana cores. Joansu says that he feels too bad to just ignore the man. What a Chad. Later that night, we hear that guy laughing, calling him a dumbass, saying he pretended to be poor, and he gave him so many mana stones. And he's bragging to Deer. Deer says he must be new to this type of stuff, and the guy says he would have given him more if he said his kid was sick, too. And he says what's annoying though is that he was paid more than everybody else, and he gave him an extremely small portion, along with that fake superhuman part of their shares, too. Deer sighs, saying he's not even a superhuman, and they better teach him a lesson. The beggar asks if he has an idea, and Deer asks if he can't tell and smiles, saying that actual moron must have some kind of strange ability. As Bro is happy about helping the poor, Deer says since they know his secret, they can teach him a lesson about how truly scary the world can be. It jumps to a high-class resort as we see Jo-An-Soo through a window, getting a massage, and he says, "Money sure is great." He never thought he'd be able to see the day he could get a massage at a place like this, and being in the game is much better than reality. The masseuse squeezes his arm very tightly, and Jo-An-Soo says he spent 3 whole days resting in this hotel, and it still hurts. From now on, he has to think twice before using any mutant-related traits. Changing traits isn't as omnipotent as he thought. His body changes depending on the traits, and the severity of the side effects increases the more his body changes. The problem is survivability after limiting his trait usage. He looks out the window, recognizing some people, saying that is the Iron Fist gang, as we see them all by the pool. He explains that Arcane Soul is dominated by local gangs rather than by laws. It's only natural since there are too many monsters around, and people have to depend on superhumans. He says he did manage to survive the first bit, but he'd only be foolish to depend solely on his traits in such a dangerous place, and he begins to grin, saying in the end it will all come down to him being overgeared. He heads to a miscellaneous store, and a woman asks if he's here to sell stuff. He says yes and that he has some byproducts from monsters. She looks at his clothing, saying that she's telling him up front they don't buy any level 0 mana cores, since our boy is not dripped out. He says that he's aware of that. He reaches into his bag, saying this is what he would like to sell, as he pulls out a blue mana core, which surprises her. She asks if this is a level 2 mana core, and he says yes, telling her to get a good look. He says that it feels good to see her surprised. He's so glad that he got a level 2, and grinding for it in the hotel paid off. If he can sell it at the highest price, this would be the way to go. He asks if she sells weapons and armor. She says of course, letting him come into the back. As soon as he enters, he looks surprised, saying it seems like she has everything in here. The government needs to keep tabs on this woman, and he says all the basic items used in the game are here too. She tells him to take his time, and he says sure. Then he starts to get hella excited, saying it's time to get geared. He starts to carry hella guns in his backpack like Bro is playing PUBG, and he says now that he has weapons, it finally feels like he's playing Arcane Soul. He then hears a woman calling out to him, and he turns. She asks if by chance he's a mercenary, saying that she needs help. He says he's not and that she should find somebody else, but she pulls some money out, saying she's here on a business trip, and the Iron Fist gang scared her, asking if he could protect her on her way to the lodging. He sees she's trying to give him 500,000 at least to be a bodyguard, and maybe he should try since he's geared up. He puts his hand on her shoulder, saying he can't ignore a lady in danger, and he says it's time to go, looking ready. They start to head into some back alleys, and she says they're almost there. He wonders why she's staying in such a shady place, saying, "Forget a single person, there isn't even an ant." She quickly runs around the corner, and when he turns, he sees nothing but darkness. She says they're almost there and he should be quick. He says it's too dark and he can't really see anything. Then his eyes begin to glow yellow as he obtains a night vision trait, and he says now he can see, but he didn't plan for this. In her hands is a pistol being pointed directly at him, and she says that he's much more cautious than she expected. He wonders who she is and if this was all a trap. Only for him to turn around, seeing Deer, who laughs, asking him where he's going. Deer says it's nice to meet him again like this, asking if he agrees. Jo-An-Soo asks what he did to deserve this, and Deer says nothing really, he just seems stupid. And there's no other reason, calling him gullible. Jo-An-Soo drops his guns, instantly hauling cheeks, knocking the woman over, and Deer asks why he would start a conversation just to run. He tells the woman to shoot him, and she fires her gun directly at him, hitting him in the back. He begins to fall down some stairs. Then Deer asks, "What the hell?" Saying she was only meant to shoot his leg, not his chest, and she said it's better than him getting away. Deer says, "Holy shit, I think he's dead. Honestly, I think Bro could walk that off, he looks fine." The woman says that somebody might be able to buy his dead body, since he returned from being a mutant. The beggar says that it's time to loot his equipment now. And then when Deer looks back down, he says it can't be helped and they should do this first, only to see that Jo-An-Soo's body is gone, and they all begin to wonder where the hell he went as they begin to feel uneasy. The lamppost breaks, and the beggar gets hit in the back of the head. The rest begin to panic, wondering what's going on, and Deer says there's no way he's still alive. Jo-An-soo says he can't die to someone who repays kindness with betrayal, and it's a good thing he exited the store after wearing the bulletproof vest. Thanks to that, he obtained the trait he needed of playing dead after being shot. Deer looks around in panic, saying that he can't see anything since the streetlight is broken, and he wonders where Jo-An-soo is. Jo-An-soo instantly appears behind him, saying he's right here. He says that he saved his life, so he's taking it now, while punching straight at his face. Jo-An-soo hits him in the face, causing blood to fly everywhere. Deer then falls to the floor but instantly gets back up, wiping his mouth. He stands up and throws a kick at Jo-An-soo, who dodges it, and Jo-An-soo says he should be thankful that he saved him in the first place, asking if he thinks trying to kill a savior is the right thing to do. As Deer goes to fall to the floor from the attack, Jo-An-soo tells him to bite the curb and goes to kick, but the woman fires her gun toward Jo-An-soo, and she asks Deer if he's okay. She manages to hit Jo-An-soo's arm with a shot, and he says that he was too careless. In Arcane Soul, the scariest thing isn't monsters or mutants, but people. He was too naive and trusted them easily. He reaches into his pant holster and pulls out his gun so he won't make that same mistake again, and he shoots the gun out of the girl's hands, then shoots one of the men in the shoulders, saying that this is enough, as we see them both in pain on the ground. Something bounces off the wall, and Jo-An-soo turns, saying he should kill Deer to be safe, only for Deer to come in for a surprise attack. Jo-An-soo didn't expect this but manages to react in time by blocking the kick, though he loses his gun, and we see that Deer's legs have now transformed, and that Deer has awakened as a level 1 superhuman. Jo-An-soo says this game is so shittily made, explaining that superhuman awakening is something that all playable characters can go through. It's considered the basic growth system in the game, and according to the world within Arcane Soul, a level 1 superhuman is strong enough to threaten an ordinary civilian holding an automatic rifle. Jo-An-soo backpedals to create some distance as Deer says he'll kill him, and now Jo-An-soo has to deal with a superhuman with nothing but his body. Deer instantly vanishes in front of Jo-An-soo, and he wonders where the hell he went. We learn that Deer has 2 unique traits, which are called stereoscopic movement and kicking. Stereoscopic movement allows him to use his incredible leg elasticity to move freely in any direction he wishes. In his case, he's wall running like it's Assassin's Creed. Jo-An-soo looks up to see him from above. As he used it to gain height, he starts to come in with a kick using the momentum and height. And Jo-An-soo says he needs to dodge this, and he rolls out of the way, leaving the ground to be completely crushed. Deer is surprised and annoyed that he dodged that, and charges in, saying he won't be able to dodge this one. We hear it connect with Jo-An-soo, and Deer begins to grin, thinking that it's over, but Jo-An-soo says that he's sorry, but he has no intentions of dodging. As we see, he blocked it with a weapon, and he calls him a mutt that doesn't know his place. He knew that buying this extendable baton was a good idea. A few hours ago, in the girl's storage, he wondered if a gun would be that worth it. Since Warrior Kim is a warrior class character, even if he were to grow stronger, there's a limit to how effectively he can wield a gun, just in case he wanted to buy a weapon for melee, which was none other than this expandable baton. Each character has weapons and traits that are more effective for their class. We see Deer's leg is shaking, and Jo-An-soo manages to knock him back. That's why, in order to win against Deer, he needed to use a close-range weapon and traits fit for a warrior such as himself. He swings the baton down, actually hitting Deer, knocking him to the floor, and he acquires a trait called Strike. This is a class-specific trait for the warrior class. He then begins to try to spam his attacks to get even more, using things such as downward slash, uppercut, and even lunge. He then tries to sideswipe, but I'm not sure if he's gained a trait at this point. Deer looks for an opening and then takes it, coming in with a kick straight toward Jo-An-soo. Jo-An-soo debates if he should dodge or not, but says he can't stop after coming so far, and he grits his teeth, saying even if it means he has to break his bones, and he blocks the attack with his elbow, hitting Deer's leg. He says he should just keep attacking. This continues again as they trade blow for blow with one another. Then Jo-An-soo obtains a trait called Combo, and he begins to have that grin, saying, "That's it." The best warrior class trait build for early stages is pairing both strike and combo with one another. He's using his left hand to punch and his right hand to swing the baton, absolutely putting this dude in a cutscene. Deer begs him to stop as he starts to lose consciousness, and then Jo-An-soo thrusts his baton straight into Deer's chest, hitting him with strike. Deer finally loses it, falling to the floor, and Jo-An-soo yells, saying that he did it, and he defeated and awakened. His arms begin to feel hot, as they are burning the rain as it drops onto him, and he wonders what this feeling is as he looks down at them. His entire body begins to fill with pain, as a red aura swirls around him, and he says that he can sense something brimming within, and he thinks he knows what's going on. There's a very bright explosion from where he is standing, and as he now has a golden aura around his fingers, he says this is the day he learned the cruel truth of the world of arcane soul, and he is now awakened as a level 1 superhuman. Jo An-soo then clenches his fist out of excitement and starts screaming, saying that it's about damn time, and he starts making the ugliest Lloyd face I've ever seen. He's so excited, bro busts out a handstand, saying that he's gonna start getting some low-interest loans and high-paying jobs now. A man approaches him, asking him what he thinks he's doing. When Jo An-soo turns, he's surprised to see a big-ass old dude with a huge gun. He explains that this man is Iron Fist Kim, and he is the second basic character given in Arcane Soul after Warrior Kim. He's a character from the reinforced soldier class who uses firearms as his primary weapon, specializing in shooting using his prosthetic arm. The problem is that Iron Fist Kim is the feared boss of the Iron Fist gang, and since he fought within their territory, it must have seriously provoked him. Iron Fist asks if he checked where he was beforehand. Jo An-soo says that he was suddenly attacked, and he couldn't just sit there and not fight back. Iron Fist racks the slide on his gun, saying that means they are scarier than his gang. Jo An-soo is surprised, saying that if he fights in this condition, he's gonna die for nothing. Iron Fist puts the gun right to his chest, saying that he made one hell of a wrong choice, and he's gonna show him what happens when he messes around in his territory. Jo An-soo thinks about it and asks if this is the best he has, telling him that he's missed one thing. He grabs onto the gun, putting his finger on the trigger. He shoots himself in the chest, saying that he's not the type of guy to die so easily. Iron Fist is surprised that bro just killed himself with his own gun, saying that he's some kind of psycho for pulling the trigger on his own. Jo An-soo then starts to laugh, asking if that's all, saying that shit was light work. As we see, he has obtained the trait of regeneration. Iron Fist laughs, saying that he has quite an interesting ability. Jo An-soo explains that the upgraded version of wound recovery is regeneration, and it's only obtainable once you become a level 1 superhuman. It'll be over if they start looking down on him, so he has to bluff his way out of this. He points behind at his triple homicide case, saying that as they can see, he didn't survive out of luck, and he doesn't care who they are. If they mess with Warrior Kim, they better brace themselves. Iron Fist laughs, asking if that's his name, saying that he likes his guts, but that he'll let him go this time, but in that case, he owes him a debt. He puts his hand on his shoulder, saying surely he knows what he means. Anyone else getting some Seuss vibes from this guy? Jo An-soo says he'll remember this, wondering if he might have recognized him. Iron Fist then sticks his hand out, saying they can work together on a job next time. As Jo An-soo looks down at it, he says that Iron Fist is not the type to betray him. In that case, it won't be bad to build a connection here. He says bet as they shake hands, saying that he'll see him next time. It then jumps to the Jamsil Superhuman Tower as Jo An-soo says he had no idea when he looked at it in-game, but this place is hella cool, and it's way different than anything he's seen before. A woman then calls out to him, thanking him for visiting the tower, asking how she can help him. Bro is stunned by how pretty she is and says that she seems familiar, wondering if she's an NPC. She says that if he's here for his certification, then he needs to head over to the machine to measure his mana and trait circuits. He thanks her and starts walking over, saying that he didn't even ask for help, yet she still guided him. That just shows how much of a noob he looks like. He says that once he gets his certification, he'll get to start a real life in Arcane Soul. He then hears a very loud sound, which startles him. When everybody says to look up at the ceiling, saying that the Saintess is here, he does so only to see a bright light coming down from an airship. As it appears right in front of him, we see enchantment table text all over as it is beaming people down. Jo An-soo is surprised as he recognizes it as the old father's order, wondering why the hell a boss monster is here. People start praying, saying that it's such an honor, but Jo An-soo then remembers that since he is in the tutorial timeline, she's a saintess instead of a boss monster. As the story progresses, it is revealed that the order was actually a cult disguised as a religion, and she is a complete psycho. While people continue to praise her, they say that she must be here for a level renewal. She then starts to release a powerful aura, which is so strong it knocks people over, and the golden light pulses around her. Jo An-soo looks away, saying that's one flashy way to do things, and it's low-key loud as hell. As the machine starts reading her mana, she starts to retract it until it's completely gone, and everybody waits in anticipation, wondering what she'll get. Then we see that she is 27 years old, of the priest class, has a mana level of 8, and has a 6-layered circuit. They can't believe that she's level 8. We see her smiling as they say that she even has 6 traits, which is what the layered circuits are. But Jo An-soo has a different opinion, as he's sweating nervously, saying this isn't the time to be cheering. A level 8 superhuman can be compared to an aircraft carrier, and she is a walking national level superpower. Why are the strong women always crazy? But even if he tried warning them, they just treat him like a madman and stone his ass to death as if it was the Middle Ages. For now, he decides to just get his mana measured, and it would gather too much attention if he had 6 traits, so he'll lower it to 3. The Saintess turns, sensing something, and when her men ask what's going on, she says that she found something that caught her eye. She appears right behind Jo An-soo, saying that he sure has an interesting ability. He says holy shit, that scared him. Then replays what she just said, asking if she really sensed that he swapped his traits. He freezes up for a second as the window is still open. Everybody wonders why the Saintess is talking to him, saying that he seems like a normal dude. She then grabs onto his hands, asking what his name is. He tells her that it's Warrior Kim, and he says the only reason a priest would ask for someone's name in Arcane Soul. Before he can finish his thought, he gets cut off as she says she represents the Old Father's order and baptizes him. As the Old Father always desires powers such as his, telling him to submit and find peace in this hellish world, the enchantment table moves down his arm. Everybody's jealous that he's getting baptized, especially from the Saintess who is the first daughter of the Old Father herself. Jo An-soo has a different opinion. He's hella nervous, saying that if he were to be baptized and obtain the baptism trait, he has no choice but to become a paladin of the order. However, the Old Father's order in the war against South Korea loses to significant figures in Arcane Soul, which we see as none other than the Heavenly Demon. As she continues baptizing him, he rips his hand away, saying that it's like being forced to go in on a stock that's about to crash. He kneels, saying that he refuses to be baptized. We see her eyes turn full psycho, as she says she must have heard him wrong. He says that he's hella serious while he's a little gassed out. She begins to hold back her anger, saying that it is one's freedom to serve him or refuse to. However, the Old Father has already laid his eyes on him. She puts her hand on his shoulder, telling him not to forget that a holy power has taken root inside of him, and that if he cannot overcome such a tiny power, his feeble free will has no meaning in the end. He then starts to get lit ablaze by a yellow flame as he starts screaming in front of everybody. They ask how dare somebody like him refuse the baptism, asking if he's not religious or something. We see he's affected by divine fever, and that he will suffer unending searing pain as punishment for refusing the baptism. He was prepared for this, but it still hurts like hell as his whole body is burning, and that it is one of the strongest debuffs in the entirety of the game. By causing burning pain endlessly, it prevents one from continuing with their ordinary life. The only way to get rid of it is to go to the temple and get baptized. He refused it because he thought about the future, but it seems like he might die right now as we see his eyes roll up to the back of his head. He loses consciousness until somebody pours water on his face, waking him back up. He wonders who it is, only to see the woman from earlier, who is asking him if he's okay, and we see she looks really worried. He says that nobody helps someone affected by the divine fever because they fear the negativity would spread to them, and he's grateful that she would step out of line for him. He then sits back up, saying he's going to endure it a little more. As he gets into a lotus position, he gains a trait called divine resistance. As we see, he's starting to actually build up a tolerance to the flames. He says he didn't refuse it recklessly either, and that the debuff gets stronger depending on the target's total amount of mana. Because he's still level 1, the debuff is weaker in comparison, so there are a few solutions. The first is to obtain the trait, which he just did, and now he'll muster up more mana from within himself. I can't tell if he's unlocked his traits or activated mana absorption. He starts screaming out in pain regardless, as the woman continues pouring bottles of water on him, telling him that he's got this. It immediately cools him down, and he says it feels like the water of life. He has to focus on this contrasting sensation of both fire and water. As he starts to balance it within himself, it feels as if time has stopped. The burning pain and the cold feeling are starting to melt into one as he's going to use the mana within himself to extinguish the fire. As he opens his eyes, a powerful blue light starts to emanate from him. It even blinds the poor girl. We then see he has obtained yet another trait called Mana Barrier, as the flames are no longer able to hurt him. He smiles, saying that this is the tier 1 common trait a defensive warrior must obtain. The woman asks if he's alright, and he says that he's okay now thanks to her. But everybody's in disbelief that he overcame divine fever, asking if that was even possible. Of course, he hasn't completely overcome it, and it is only a temporary measure against it using the barrier. But at least he's freed from the burning pain, and the black flame look kinda makes him look cool. It's now his time to measure his mana as he steps upon the magic device. It begins to load as it starts going up and up. He smiles, waiting for his measurement, and we see that it tells him that he is level 1, but he has a 6-layered circuit. They can't believe that he has 6 traits, saying that it's the birth of a super rookie. This must be why the Saintess had her eyes on him. Jo An-soo says that he's gained too much attention, and his goal is to be the overpowered main character, but hidden in the shadows. The woman then congratulates him, saying that she's never seen someone starting with a 6-layered circuit, and that now they can go issue him his license. They head to somewhere else in the tower, and she slides it across the table, congratulating him on officially being certified as a superhuman. He starts crying tears of joy, saying that he's worked so hard to get this, and she says that she's gonna explain all the privileges. He says nah, as he already knows them all. I ain't reading all that, but he starts naming them out. She's a little surprised that he knows them very well, and he says that it's because he's a game addict, rather a doctor in superhumanology. He then tells her that he doesn't like wasting time. As we see a whole crowd staring at them, he asks if there's a way he can leave quietly. She laughs, saying of course, she's already prepared one. We see him blushing as she gets up, telling him to follow her while smiling. As he does so, we see them both in robes, and he thanks her for taking care of him this much. She even provided a secret passage along with a cloak, and she says that it's no problem, as they have to help each other after all. Just for wearing the cloak, he obtains the trait stealth. Bro is broken. The woman then points towards the exit, saying that he just has to walk out there, and she can only guide him here due to the rules. He bows, saying that this is more than enough, thanking her for what she's done, and she tells him to have a safe trip back. As he watches her leave, he says he didn't know such a kind person existed in Arcane Soul. She's pretty too, and once he gets stronger, he has to repay the favor. Then he wonders what her name was. As he looks down at her business card, he starts to look at it in complete disbelief, and we see that her name is none other than Baek Soren. He says that that's the name of one of the 3 strongest SSR rank warrior characters in the game. She's a berserker, and always had a very scary appearance. He found it strange that he found her face familiar, and he never could have imagined that she used to have such a calm face. He wonders what in the world happened to her between then and now. It then jumps to him working as he cuts a slime in half. He says that he completely takes back everything he said about being nice as a superhuman, and he's been cleaning up these monsters for a week straight, and he's gonna die from overwork. Me too, bro, me too. He then sits down, sighing, saying that he's only finished 1 cave, but he's so damn tired, and this efficiency blows. It's all because he focused his traits on maintaining the mana barrier. If he could customize it to specialize more towards monster cleaning, he would have been done hours ago, but now he can't do any other work because of this damn debuff too. He needs a rare potion named Nectar to eliminate the divine fever, but it's so expensive that this cleaning job just won't do, and he starts to feel hella depressed. His phone starts to ring, and we see it's none other than Seon-soo, and he wonders how many times this dude is gonna call him, saying that he's persistent. Before he can decline, saying that he's done with this dude, he then has an idea and starts to make one evil-looking smile. At Seon-soo's agency, he's super happy to see him and tells him that he can't believe that he overcame the divine fever without getting baptized, and just turns into a complete kiss-ass. Jo An-soo says that things have turned out like that and asks if he has found the work he requested. Seon-soo tells him not to even talk about it, and it was so difficult because Nectar is a medicine that can only be obtained from level 5 or higher requests. Jo An-soo says if he didn't get it, he's gonna head out, but Seon-soo tells him to wait, saying that this is a matter involving his exclusive contract with him, so he has to secure it no matter what. So, of course, he did. Jo An-soo starts to smile, saying that since he's so desperate for a superhuman contract, he knew he'd do whatever he could to get him to fulfill his request. He then sits back down, asking what the contents of it are. As he hands it to him, he asks if he's heard of number 1 security. Jo An-soo says it's his first time hearing of it, wondering if it's a security firm. He tells him that it's a private military company, one of the top 10 in the industry. The CEO and vice CEO are a married couple, and both are from traditional martial arts families, so their foundation is very solid. Jo An-soo asks what they could be lacking for them to issue such a request. Seon-soo says that their son is the problem. He is already past 20 but has yet to awaken as a superhuman. Jo An-soo finds that surprising since both of his parents are from martial arts families. Seon-soo says that the rumor is that he has accumulated level 8 mana, but just can't awaken, which is mysterious. Their condition was a level 1 or higher warrior type superhuman, so it just fits right in. Jo On-soo then starts to smile, saying that he's going to go see them now. As he heads over to their estate, we see Seon-soo's legs shaking hella bad. He says that they're quite busy as they're not the type to be late. Jo On-soo is just looking around the house, saying that it is very expensive. We hear a woman apologize, saying that she's sorry for making them wait so long. Bro is going to have a heart attack. We are finally introduced to them, and she says that they are the clients. The husband's name is Seo Youngju, and the wife's name is Lee Miria. Seon-soo bows, saying that it's nothing, thanking them for their time to begin with. Jo On-soo does the same, saying that they must be at least level 6 superhumans as both of them possess a considerable amount of aura. Youngju sighs, saying that he can tell this one is weak just by looking at him. Miria says not to be like that, and if he's going to act like this, to go back to his room. He sits down on the couch, saying that he can't do that, and she tells him he's so stubborn, then tells both Jo On-soo and Seon-soo to take a seat. They thank her, and Miria says that seeing as how they came all the way here, that means that they plan to accept their request. Jo On-soo says that first he would like to check their son's condition because there might be a special reason preventing him from awakening. Youngju slams his fist on the table, asking if he really thinks he'd tell that to a rookie like himself. He is absolutely furious. Miria tells him to calm down and apologizes, saying that he gets worked up really easily with anything regarding their child. It's not something that they can tell an outsider, and if he accepts the request, they'll call their son and explain the situation. They are sure he's also in dire need of nectar, as they can tell that the divine fever is affecting him. Jo On-soo says that if it's a problem they need to keep confidential, yet they know exactly what he needs. It's making him become more certain about taking this request. He tells them that he'll accept it and to call their son. As they do so, he opens the door, hitting the anime girl arm holding pose. He introduces himself as a Woojin. Jo On-soo says it's nice to meet him and shakes his hand, saying that he can't feel any mana from the dude. He then notices something, telling the dude that his glove is pretty cool. The dude says that it's more than he deserves, but he always uses it with gratitude. Jo On-soo says that he would assume so since he needs it to seal his mana. The entire family is surprised, and Jo On-soo smiles, saying that the moment he saw his gloves, he became certain. Even though it's a matter involving a noble family, he's deliberately set the conditions of a level 1 superhuman and used nectar's bait to summon him. He has been baptized by the old father's order. The reason why their son hasn't been able to awaken is because he rejected the baptism and sealed away his mana to avoid divine fever. While they couldn't publicly announce it and were struggling with it, they must have heard the recent rumor about him overcoming the baptism. So they decided to seek him out. Woojin is hella impressed and starts pogging out of his gourd, saying there's no need for him to explain further, and he almost thought he was the protagonist of a detective novel. Jo On-soo says that he's watched enough Detective Conan in the past, and there's nothing to fear since he knows the future as well. The moment he saw the picture, he got the gist of it because, in the future, Woojin becomes the vanguard paladin of the old father's order. He refused the baptism and held out, but his parents lost their power, and so he succumbed and joined the order to help his family. Youngju then walks over, calling him sir, asking if there's any way for their son to escape the baptism, and we see them all have puppy dog eyes. Jo On-soo says that he was so arrogant a moment ago, and now he's acting all gentle, telling them of course there is. He says that since he's spent 10,000 hours in Arcane Soul, of course, he'd know how to deal with it, and he puts his hand on his shoulder, saying that he knows the pain he's suffering as he's went through as well, and that he'll get him out of this. Woojin starts to cry, and he hugs Jo On-soo while Jo On-soo says that he doesn't care if it's the saintess or not. She tried to get him into some lowly cult, and her future subordinate is now on his side as he hits another Lloyd face. He then starts to push him away, saying that before they do this, he'd like to add a condition. Youngju asks what he wants. Jo On-soo says that since the difficulty of the request has increased, it means he should be entitled to something else. Miria says that it makes sense, as this is no longer just about mana awakening, but overcoming divine fever. They'll do whatever they can if he heals their son. Jo On-soo says as the additional condition, he'd like for them to teach him the mountain-breaking swordsmanship. They're both surprised to hear this. As Jo On-soo smiles, Woojin looks afraid. Seon-soo hits the pose of, haha, I'm in danger. As it's not Youngju, but Miria who walks forward, releasing hella killing intent, saying surely he understands what he has just asked for. He looks up, afraid, wondering what the hell is the deal with the killing intent, and that she is way scarier than her husband. He understands that she'd be angry as the mountain-breaking swordsmanship. He explains that one might doubt his decision to learn swordsmanship in a 21st century era. However, it is a different story in Arcane Soul where strength equates to authority. As we see a woman cutting through a tank with a sword, he explains that a superhuman swordsman can easily destroy modern weapons, and high-level martial arts are traded for fighter jet squadrons. If a level 1 superhuman learns and continuously trains in the mountain-breaking swordsmanship, they can reach level 4 without any difficulties whatsoever, which is basically a cheat code for the early game. He remembers that it is said that only the elites could learn it, and he wonders if he crossed a line. He tells her that he would only like it in return if he actually completes the request. Woojin then calls out to her, which makes her snap back to reality. She stops releasing killing intent, saying fine, if he succeeds she'll give him a memory chip containing the swordsmanship along with the nectar. Jo Ansu is just surprised that it actually worked, and thanks her, while hitting his evil-ass smile again. He thought she was going to kill him, but now he can get the swordsmanship, which is really good. She says that if he fails, she and her husband are going to be sincerely disappointed and even angry. He says that won't happen, and that it's better for them to start as soon as possible. As we see them head to a warehouse, Miria says that a room with a mana focusing circle and 200 intermediate grade mana potions have all been prepared for just as he asked for. He says this should be more than enough, and he'd prefer to be alone with the patient during the treatment. She apologizes for what she did earlier, saying that Woojin was forcefully baptized before he could even start going to school. He never had a chance to make friends, let alone go out as a family. He had to suffer while being forced in his room, and it seems that she was too sensitive because of the situation, and she'll entrust him entirely on this. Jo Ansu says that everybody had to suffer because of the Saintess's trap, and Woojin tells his mother she's fine. Jo Ansu says in the game, he ends up opposing his family, even though they're the reason he joined the order. But it makes sense that he would become so cold in the future, but he does feel bad for them. He says that he'll succeed at all costs, and now that it's just the two of them, they can get started. We see Woojin shaking, and Jo Ansu tells him to take it easy, asking what he's afraid of. Woojin says that he thought he was going to torture him, to forcefully awaken him using electric shock or some other stuff. Jo Ansu asks what the hell has been done to him so far, and explains that the general treatment to cure divine fever is to drink nectar after awakening. However, because he had too much mana in his body, the divine fever was too severe for him to awaken, and he failed. So Jo Ansu tells him that he doesn't need to worry, but has to remember one thing. Everything he sees today is a secret. Jo Ansu says he's going to begin. First, he has to expand the mana barrier to his absolute limit. Then the barrier will weaken. As we see the divine fever starting to actually eat away at him again, he pops the corks off the healing potions, pouring them down his throat, saying now's the time. Woojin is just confused, as this cycle just repeats over and over and over. He continually chugs them. He says this shit tastes awful. After there's a whole lot of bottles on the floor, he finally gets the trait of drug addiction. The damage received and mana consumption increases, but the effects of the drugs are enhanced. He says now if he focuses on the mana shield, with the drugs, he can level it up as it turns into an area shield. After he sets it up around him, he wipes his mouth, saying that the divine fever has completely been pushed out of the barrier. Woojin tells him that was amazing, and Jo Ansu says it's too early to be surprised, telling him to take off his glove. Woojin is confused, asking if he heard that right, and Jo Ansu says that he needs to push his hand out of the barrier, and afterwards, he just needs to grab his. Woojin says that the two divine fevers are going to create a resonance reaction. Jo Ansu starts to step out of the barrier as the divine fever begins burning him again. He says that his will be bearable since he's going to be inside the barrier, and not to ask why, just follow his orders. Woojin's heart starts to beat hella fast, as this is the first time he's taken his glove off, ever since he was baptized. He sticks his hand through the barrier, as it starts to burn hella bad, and it's even more than Jo Ansu's divine fever, even though it's only his hand. Jo Ansu wonders how much mana this dude has in his body, to the point that it's scary, but he grabs onto it, as he has no other choice. He then feels some of the most unbearable pain he's had to deal with thus far, as if it was completely charring his body. He screams out in agony, saying it hurts way more than when he was originally baptized. His eyes begin to roll back to his head, and he says that it feels as if his bones are being shattered into pieces. He bites his lips, saying that he has to maintain his focus and endure through this. He then hears the notification of a trait pop up, and he jumps back through the barrier immediately towards Woojin, and they land on the ground. Jo Ansu starts panting, and we see him still holding onto Woojin's arm, and he obtained the trait of damage absorption, which means he can take the damage of others. He says this was a success, and Woojin is looking at his hand without the glove, saying that he can't believe it's still bearable. Jo An-soo says that it was all planned out to go this way. In addition to the barrier, he's used damage absorption to take part of his divine fever for himself, meaning that his is severely weakened, and that this is the final stage. He hands him a wooden sword, saying that he can't stop, and he has to attack him until he awakens. Woojin says, "Alright, and it's time to use the swordsmanship he's been practicing since he was a child." He then gets into his stance, swinging at Jo An-soo, who we see get hit on the forearms. As he's using armor to block it, Woojin then dashes behind him, and Jo An-soo just looks up fearful at his arm guards, since they're made out of iron, and they were broken by a wooden sword. It means this is going to be bad. He obtains the trait called Protect, and he says that even with this trait, he'll be in a critical state if he gets hit even once from these attacks. And to think that it's coming from a guy who is not even awakened yet is pretty damn scary. As Woojin starts to come in with another attack, Jo An-soo sticks his hand out, sidestepping the attack. He puts his hand on Woojin's shoulder, flipping in the air, wondering what the hell they've been teaching this kid. He's having a hard time even just dodging. Once he lands, he turns to see a little aura starting to leak from Woojin, and he's also obtained the trait of evasion. Jo An-soo smiles, saying that means he's about to awaken. As Woojin releases even more aura than before, Jo An-soo says this is bad, as the sword is beginning to glow as well and he is SSR rank. Turns out that he's unlocked one hell of a trait, one with the sword as a state where the sword becomes the person, and that it's an insanely overpowered trait for the warrior class. But this isn't any time to be excited because this dude is completely in a trance as he shoots out an aura wave directly towards Jo An-soo. He looks down at it as it gets close, saying that if he gets hit, he is definitely dead. Jo An-soo says that he needs to bring out every defensive trait possible and focus the barrier onto his arms. And with the help of the mana focusing circle in this room, he might actually stand a chance as he starts using them together. The attack gets closer and closer until it explodes, and the impact alone shatters the ground beneath him, sending out a powerful shockwave. We see a shield forming out of the smoke as he has obtained the trait of Mana Shield now. He says that he's glad he did it, and that when you combine Mana Barrier and Protect, this is the outcome, and that he actually almost just died there. Woojin starts to wobble, which surprises Jo An-soo as he watches the dude fall over unconscious. Jo An-soo asks how he's just laying there peacefully after just trying to kill him. He's just glad that he's sleeping as he was low-key a little worried he was having a seizure. He probably just went berserk due to the awakening. In the game, Woojin was a strong character with the rank of SSR just like he is now, but because he awakened as a warrior and not a paladin, he acquired one with the sword as a starting trait. He then picks him up, saying he doesn't know how this will change the story, but he's a guy with a silver spoon and immense strength. So it's good that he owes him a favor as he smiles again. Bro might be a villain. We see him laying in his bed, and they're super glad that he actually overcame the divine fever to the point that they bow, thanking Jo An-soo for everything. Jo An-soo says it was nothing, and Si An-soo again turns into a kiss-ass holding a cup for him to drink out of. Miria pats Woojin's head, saying it's been such a long time since she saw him sleep so soundly, and she doesn't know how to repay this debt. Youngju nods, and so does she. He says along with the promised nectar and the memory chip, they want to provide him with an additional success fee. Jo An-soo says they don't have to, and he says that they would like to give him 1 billion won even though it may be small compared to what he's done for them. He almost dies on the spot and puts on the nicest face he can, saying that it would hurt his heart to reject it. Of course, he's feeling the exact opposite, and he's hella happy to hear it. That night, as he and Si An-soo head back, Si An-soo says that it sure was a jackpot. Jo An-soo's looking at his reward, saying that they look great. Si An-soo asks if he's going to drink the nectar immediately, and he says yes as he has too, so he's going to go on hiatus for a bit. Si An-soo says that's understandable as he doesn't want to catch the attention of the order after all or those who hear of the rewards trying to chase after him. But it's still a shame, if he refined the nectar and consumed it, it would significantly boost his mana. Jo An-soo says that's true, and that if he did refine it, he could raise his superhuman level by a lot instead of having to spend it on curing the divine fever. They head to a hotel, and as he gets out, Si An-soo tells him that he'll see if he can find the equipment necessary to refine the nectar, so to hold off on drinking it. Jo An-soo says he'll think about it, but of course he doesn't as he rips the tag off. He says he's going to drink this shit ASAP. He learned how cruel Arcane Soul could be during the deer incident and can't guarantee that Si An-soo isn't going to betray him. He also has traits that can maximize the effect because he's now a drug addict with mana absorption and potion dependency. These are just traits. He starts drinking it and drops the bottle due to the pain he's feeling, and describes it as if every fiber of his muscles being disassembled and reassembled. He closes his eyes, trying to lock in, saying that there's also an incredible amount of mana within him. His eyes begin to glow yellow as he shoots out a hella bright beam from his window. He is now leveled up to level 2, but the divine fever is still there, it seems. He says this is one of the best tier 1 traits in the entire game, and since it's been added to his traits along with the mountain breaking swordsmanship, he's very relieved as he can focus on training these 2 traits without any problem. His phone then starts to ring, and when he looks down, it's Seon-soo, who says he has something to tell him. Jo-on-soo ignores it, saying he's going to go train, but it continues going off over and over, and he picks it up asking why the hell he's spamming him. He looks down to see that it's actually a whole schizo post. He wonders what the hell he's meant to make of this. And he starts making out letters in it, reading in between the lines as it says, "Run away from the Dagger Gang." Obviously, it's in English, but in Korean it would have made sense. He says that he can't believe he hit a secret message within his text, and that the Dagger Gang is one of the opposing gangs of the Iron Fist. If Seon-soo wanted to betray him, he'd call him like usual to stall for time. Considering he sent the secret message, it must mean he was caught first, and it seems the information was leaked while he was trying to prepare the equipment. He starts to feel a little guilty, but says he's going to ignore it since he got the nectar he needed, and everyone's responsible for their own life and arcane soul. It then jumps to Seon-soo screaming as loud as he can as we see him in a chair with 3 dudes surrounding him. They say he's one stubborn man, and even after a whole night of being interrogated, he still won't spill anything about the superhuman rookie. Seon-soo says that he signed a contract because he trusted him, and he's not going to tell them no matter what they do to him, W-mans. The dude says he didn't want to resort to this, but he's left him no choice. A man then starts walking at him menacingly while holding onto an axe, asking if he uses his right or his left hand. Seon-soo doesn't say anything, and the dude raises the axe up, laughing, saying he doesn't actually care, and he's just going to cut off his right hand, but before he swings down, an explosion occurs behind him, and they turn wondering what it is. Only for a man to start crawling forward calling out for his boss, telling him that some crazy bastard is assaulting them. Turns out he's not lying as we see someone aiming down some sights, and it's none other than Jo-on-soo shooting actual rocket launchers at their building. He says that they are about to deal with the consequences of fucking around and finding out. He can't just leave someone who keeps their promises in this cruel world of arcane soul. He then squeezes the trigger, saying that hopefully this is a good shot to show them that the war has just begun. The rocket explodes on the side of the building, revealing men with firearms running out of it. They start to look around, asking where the shot came from, saying they need to find his location first. Jo-on-soo laughs, saying as expected, they're rushing out of the building like a bunch of cockroaches. Even though the building may look like a normal apartment, he knew they were all in there because this is the Dagger Gang dungeon, that he's cleared until he got sick of it. It's a complex dungeon that consists of 6 different buildings. Because the Dagger Gang quest is one of the tutorial quests, he can clear it with his eyes closed at this point. He then crouches down, leaping off the rooftop, saying that he's going to speed run this hoe. In an alleyway, we see some men patrolling, saying that the Iron Fist has to be the one doing this, as they're the only ones capable of pulling off something so crazy. And then once they find them, they'll beat their asses. One of them hears the garbage can rattling and wonders what it is, so he goes to check it out. His friends tell him to make sure to search thoroughly, what in the NPC dialogue. And when the man peeks around the alleyway, wondering where the sound came from, he sees nothing. But instead, Jo-on-soo comes out of stealth, grabbing him by the face, and slams him straight into a nearby wall. Jo-on-soo says the dude couldn't recognize him, even though he was standing directly in front of him, and there's no better combination than feigning death and stealth when it comes to infiltration. So while these dumb gangsters are wandering outside, he's going to go head into the main building. He opens the trash can and starts climbing down the ladder, saying that this is one of the secret entrances. We see him stealthily walking around the building, saying that he's avoided combat as much as possible so far. He continues his way forward, saying that they actually really like hostages, and that their boss's room is on the 5th floor, so he still has plenty of room to go. So he'll move as stealthily as possible, as to not get caught. But immediately over the intercom, it says that the enemy has infiltrated the building, and all members need to arm themselves and gather up at the assembly point. We see Jo-on-soo standing in front of a door, saying that he has to make a decision, because if he goes out here, there's the lobby, and it's the most optimal route, because there's the central staircase that leads straight up. But the problem is, once they notice that the intruder is in the building, they put up a barricade in the lobby to form a defensive line. And if he were to open the door, he'd be riddled with bullets. He decides to do it anyways, as we see him smiling evilly while walking straight out into the entire group. He then pulls out a Gatling gun from his inventory and starts letting that shit rip. They panic, and when they turn to retaliate, he starts blasting his gun all over the place. The front line cannot do anything, but the back line begins shooting at him, so he decides to throw a grenade, and as they watch it fall through the air, they kind of all stand there until it explodes in their faces. He laughs while hiding back behind the door, saying that stealth isn't his style to begin with. He looks down to show that he has more grenades, saying that he knew one wouldn't be enough, so he throws 8 more into the room and closes the door. As he hears the screams, he says he knew they would enjoy it. After a bit, it falls silent, so he decides to head back out, looking at them all laying on the floor. He wonders if he got the entire group in one go, but decides that there might be survivors, so he can't let his guard down. On cue, a man raises up, telling him to die as he shoots a bullet directly towards him. Jo On-soo looks down at it and dodges it, which allows him to obtain a trait called sensitive, and he says that now that he has this, which is what he needed from the dungeon, there's not much more to get out of it. He hisses at the dude, saying he's going to be the one to die. All we do is hear the guy screaming. As we see, he has a bullet hole in his head. Jo On-soo says that he's taken care of the minions, so he's going to head upstairs now. He says he may have gotten to the 4th floor without anything happening, but the real danger starts from here on. There will be gang members waiting for him on the 4th floor, which is the gambling room, and then the boss room, which is the 5th floor. He scoots up close to the corner and peeks around it, only to be surprised that there's nobody here. He opens the door to the gambling area, and there's nobody in there either, and he says something isn't right, and he needs to focus as he unlocks the focus trait in that moment as well. He hears something above him, and when he looks at it, he sees that it's none other than a drone, which is dropping a grenade. We've all played Counter-Strike, so we can tell that it is a flashbang, which explodes, turning Bro into Helen Keller. A man then quickly runs out of one of the rooms, leaping at Jo On-soo from behind with a knife. We hear him hit something, and the dude starts laughing, saying that he caught himself a rat, and we're introduced to the boss of the Dagger Gang, who is a level 2 assassin. Jo On-soo says that he shouldn't get his hopes up, and the guy can't believe that his knife didn't go through. Why is Tung so long? Tung then backsteps to create distance, and Jo On-soo says that he's the one who's dressed up like a rat, wondering if he's projecting. He didn't expect the boss to appear on the 4th floor, and that was dangerous, as this wasn't in the game, but he still read the patterns. The flashbang is the linked attack that activates once the player enters the boss room. He had to get both sensitive and focused in prep for this. If he didn't have them activated, he would have fallen victim to the attack. He says that Tung is a pretty skilled assassin, so he has to sense where the attacks will come from beforehand, so he can react properly. Tung can't believe he blocked his ambush, and Jo On-soo tells him not to be surprised at just this, as he pulls out his blade. He says he's going to make him regret targeting him. Jo On-soo then dashes forward, swinging towards Tung, who evades it. Tung teleports behind him, saying that he's acting so cool for somebody that's so slow. He then throws something directly forward, and we see it's none other than a knife heading towards Jo On-soo. Jo On-soo turns, hitting it, deflecting the attack, saying as expected from an assassin, he is hella quick, and he survived thanks to his traits. There's poison magic imbued in that knife, so even just touching it would definitely kill him. The longer the fight, the more disadvantaged he will be. Tung laughs, saying he's quite the lucky one, and if he surrenders now, he'll only take one of his arms and show mercy. Jo On-soo tells him to stop yapping, and to continue fighting. Tung tells him that he can tell he's a gunner from his shitty sword form, and he sure does talk a lot. Jo On-soo wonders why he thinks he's a gunner, saying it might have been because he's only used firearms until now. Tung charges forward, saying that he's going to make sure that he enjoys making his death painful. Jo On-soo raises his sword overhead, saying he only has one chance, and that is now when his guard is down as he swings towards Tung, who sidesteps the attack. He laughs, telling him that's too slow. But of course, that's what Jo On-soo expected, as he starts turning his body, twisting his sword, redirecting the attack towards Tung's head. Tung looks down at it, panicked, saying that he can't believe a gunner is using a combo attack. He falls to the ground but manages to block, and Jo On-soo says that he hates to break the news to him. Once he switches his traits, he is no longer a gunner. As he starts to release a little bit of aura, he says that he's a classic warrior armed with swordsmanship, as he is now using the mountain breaking style. He swings down. As we see blood flying, he uses an ability called Mountain Crusher, cutting the side of Tung's chest open. Tung screams, and Jo-An-Soo starts to laugh, saying that he let his guard down, so that's why he lost. Tung, not done yet, tightens the grip on his knife and throws it forward, telling Jo-An-Soo that he's not going down like this. Jo-An-Soo's actually caught off guard, as he didn't expect anything from somebody who is about to die. As we see blood flying, and Tung's body laid out on the floor, Jo-An-Soo has the knife in his side, saying that he let his guard down, which was a very amateur move. The poison is already circulating through his body, so he needs to swap his traits. He rearranges them to try to combat the poison and says that he can endure it, but it hurts a lot. He then hears men outside, saying they need to get in there, as there is an intruder around the building. Jo-An-Soo looks out, and we see his eyes are growing more tired with every passing second, and he says that he has no time to waste, and he needs to get out of here. Also on the 5th floor, we see Se-An-Soo is still tied into a chair, and he wiggles until he falls over, reaching for a piece of glass, saying that he has to get out of here quickly. Someone then approaches him, and when he looks up, it's none other than Jo-An-Soo, who asks him how he ended up getting caught. He unties him immediately, and Se-An-Soo starts crying, asking if he came all the way here to save him. Jo-An-Soo says they need to get out of here first, as they are coming after them. Se-An-Soo struggles to walk. Jo-An-Soo looks at him and gets annoyed, saying they can't believe they did this to him. He tells Se-An-Soo to hop on his back, and Se-An-Soo says there's no need, as he can't possibly ask for more. Jo-An-Soo tells him that they're in a hurry, so they have to move quickly. Se-An-Soo says this just once, he'll agree, and hops on his back, apologizing, but Jo-An-Soo still is surprised that he kept his loyalty, saying that he thought this was going to be a hellish world that he could trust nobody in, but it turns out he was wrong. They head back to Se-An-Soo's office, as Jo-An-Soo is hammering back healing soda after healing soda, finally obtaining the poison resistance trait. He says that only took a few hours. Se-An-Soo brings even more, saying that he should drink as much as he needs, and Jo-An-Soo says that this is good enough because he already got the trait he wanted. Se-An-Soo says that he can't really apologize enough, as it seems that the information was leaked when he was preparing the nectar, and he shouldn't have trusted his employees. Jo-An-Soo tells him it's fine, as he's already drank the nectar anyways. Se-An-Soo is surprised, asking why he would do that. Jo-An-Soo says if he didn't, he never would have been able to save him in the first place. Se-An-Soo starts to feel hella guilty, saying that he can't believe he drank the precious nectar to save him. Of course, it's not the reason he drank it, but it's better to have him think this way. Somebody then starts banging on the door, and Se-An-Soo panics, wondering if it's the Dagger Gang. Asking Jo-An-Soo what to do, Jo-An-Soo says that they should welcome them in. When he opens the door, Se-An-Soo is surprised, as we see none other than the Iron Fist gang have pulled up. Jo-An-Soo says it's about time he got here. As Iron Fist tells him that he knew he wasn't an ordinary guy, but he didn't think he'd wipe out the Dagger Gang, asking what he wants from him. Jo-An-Soo thinks about it, saying that because it's his turn to get the reward for clearing a difficult quest, and he explains how the two gangs hated each other and tried to fight over territory. In the game, the tutorial requires the player to annihilate the Dagger Gang by helping Iron Fist clear the building. For destroying the Dagger Gang, Iron Fist offers a lot of rewards. Bro is fighting back his inner demons. Iron Fist asks if he's trying to make a new organization, but Jo-An-Soo says that isn't his style, and the reason he called him here is to tell him that he can have the area the Dagger Gang was occupying. As he prefers to stay solo and has no intention of stepping into the criminal world, this is the best he can do. Iron Fist says it's an offer that he has nothing to lose, for taking seems a little overwhelming compared to the debt he had last time. Jo-An-Soo laughs, saying that it looks like they're on the same page. Now that he owns the area, thanks to him, he wants to have a wish. Iron Fist asks what he wants. Jo-An-Soo, just from thinking about it, starts laughing evilly, saying that he wants a house while smiling super sincerely at them. Iron Fist finds it surprising that he wants a house. As Jo-An-Soo explains that he's worked alone for quite a while now, and he's realized that he needs a proper base. He then starts holding onto his stomach, faking that he sustained an injury from the fight, but Se-An-Soo panics because he bought into it. Iron Fist clears his throat, saying that since he got rid of those bastards, it's a deal. While Jo-An-Soo says that he likes how straightforward he is, he's pogging out internally. Iron Fist asks what kind of house he prefers, if he wants a villa or an apartment. Jo-An-Soo says none of those. What he needs is a standalone house with security and soundproofing, and additionally, there must be a training facility in the basement. Iron Fist starts saying out the qualities, and Jo-An-Soo starts biting his lip, hoping that he says the exact house that he has in mind. As Iron Fist tells him there is one that he knows of, it's a house located on the outskirts of the region, which is along the ridge of the Janyu Bang. Bro hits the jackpot, but he plays it off, saying that this is the first house given to the player, which is their main base in Arcane Soul. He heads there, saying that he's so glad that he finally got it, and he's just having a great time just enjoying the view, saying that his house is way nicer than he originally thought. When he first fell into Arcane Soul, he had no idea what to do, and that the hospital bill was like 20 million won, but now he has a house that's like a palace. Not only that, but he has money from the #1 security company in Seonsu, so he could afford to stay in the hospital for a year without worry. But this is still Arcane Soul, and there's no time to sit here and get complacent. Because once the game's plot progresses, he's going to have to fight people like the Saintus who threaten to destroy the city. He picks up his pickaxe, saying it's time to go find the real reason for choosing this house. He heads to the underground training room and starts tapping on the wall, saying it should be around here, and he raises it up. He starts hammering away, finally breaking in, and he smiles, saying that his trade is at work, it seems, and he might be able to finish this faster than he thought. He continues swinging his pickaxe from side to side, way back in the mine. Turns out it was not as fast as he thought, and he says he didn't know when he played the game, but this shit is way too deep. Of course, he's too determined to give up here, as he continues smashing through until he hits water, and it starts flowing out. He drinks it, immediately feeling rejuvenated, saying that shit hit the spot. He can feel his body heating up too, and that this is the effect of a mana spring. Like the name suggests, it's just a spring filled with mana that even characters whose health have dropped to 0 can recover when soaked inside of it. Most debuffs also disappear, showcasing its incredible therapeutic properties. The place where you can access such an amazing mana spring for free is none other than this house provided by the Iron Fist gang, which is why he's progressed the way he has. He immediately sets up a tub, saying he had to go through a lot of trouble to get here, unlike in the game where he could get it done with a single click, and it's so full of vitality that he can easily feel the effect. He grabs onto his blade, saying that this is a perfect area for training, and because he could heal right up even if he ran out of stamina, there's no better chance than to push himself to the absolute limit. Sometime later at night, he says it's been 2 weeks since he's locked himself in this room. And now he can activate Black Flame on command, while using the mountain breaking swordsmanship. He raises his blade up, swinging it down, using Mountain Crusher with ease, flowing it into the second step, which is Mountain Divider, and finishing with the third step, called Mountain Piercer, as he thrusts his blade forward. He says that now he's used to using the swordsmanship along with the Black Flame. He's also earned some other traits during training. As we see, he has Smashing Strike, Single Point, Meditation, Mana Stabilization, and Fire Resistance. I can't believe I read all of that. Joansu says that now he's completed the training goal, there's only one thing that's left. The Mana Cultivation Technique, which he can't get through training, and if he had refined the Nectar, he could have reached level 3, but because he's only level 2, there's still some mana left in his body. To fully absorb the mana of the Nectar and level up, he needs this cultivation technique. Of course, it's not easy to obtain, given that it's worth tens of billions of won. He heads to an antique shop, as the shopkeeper's asking if he really wants to buy that thing that's been in the warehouse for over a decade. Turns out that this is a flashback to him playing Arcane Soul, and he says he's probably the only person who knows that the technique is hidden in a cultivation shop. So he's going to head to the marketplace where the shop is located, and he starts skipping over, saying it's time to level up. As soon as he heads to the antique shop, there's a blue barrier on the door, and we see it's locked. He says that not only is the door locked, but it also has a mana seal so nobody can enter. He says that this is the area with the most shops, and there's nothing this place doesn't sell. Back in the game, it would be open no matter what during the working hours. Why it's closed now, and what's more, every other shop around here is closed down besides this one, which is the complete opposite to how it was in the game. He says that this means that the world of Arcane Soul is different from the one he knows. He finally spots a store with a light on in the market and walks over, asking the man if the situation is not great. He says that even the owner of a shop that is still open doesn't seem to be doing well. The dude says surely he can tell just by looking that he's not in a good spot, and he's fighting with thugs every single day. There's no way customers are going to come when it's like this. Joansu says that he thought it was only the Iron Fist gang here. The dude says that he's hella wrong. Ever since the Dagger gang got wiped out, all kinds of other gangs have been fighting against each other every day. There's the Iron Fist gang, the Poison gang, and the Naked gang. Who's trying to join that? Joansu now understands why all the markets are shut down. Saying the original story, The Iron Fist gang destroys the Dagger gang themselves and claims the ownership of the territory rightfully, which naturally put the marketplace under their control. But this time, he was the one who destroyed the Dagger gang. Because of that, the marketplace became a battlefield as other gangs are trying to claim it. Jo An-soo thinks about what to do as he hears people yelling, saying to wipe them out. The old man says that they're at it again, and Jo An-soo says he's going to go take a look at what the thugs are up to. He makes his way around a corner, spotting a dude getting thrown into a little tent. And a woman asks the dude if he doesn't remember that she said this is the Poison Gang's territory. It's a member of the Iron Fist she is talking to. She's telling him to go back to his own land while flipping him off. And we are introduced to the Steel Scorpion, which is the underboss of the Poison Gang. The man from the Iron Fist gang is bleeding out of the mouth. And then we hear the most elegant voice of all time ask what all this fuss is about. And when they turn, they see our Lord and Savior, Captain Underpants, pull up on the scene with his boys. Scorpion starts screaming, saying that the perverts are here. And the leader of the naked gang, called the Exhibitionist, but I like Captain Underpants more, says that this three-way intersection is his territory. And he tells them to get lost. And if they really want to continue this shit, Iron Fist starts to back away, calling them crazy, saying he needs to take the chance to leave. But he bumps into Jo An-soo, who says that this is a complete mess. The Iron Fist dude recognizes him, and Jo An-soo helps him up, saying that he needs to do his job. He then yells, telling both Captain Underpants and Scorpion to stop screwing around and get over here. The dude he saved asks what he's doing, and Jo An-soo says that he's here to help him. And to put the market back to a normal area, he needs to set a clear hierarchy. Scorpion starts barking at him, asking how dare he tell her what to do. And Captain Underpants asks if he's trying to make an offering. Jo An-soo explains that if he were to fight them with everything he has, he should be able to win. But that might cause unnecessary damage to the merchants. So he decides there's only one way out of this as he goes all out from the get-go, releasing everything he's got, as he's going to show them his strength. They both recognize the Black Flame and his swordsmanship, as he's the one who annihilated the Dagger gang alone. He says that's right, and he'll be generous this time. So he'll make an offer they cannot refuse. He doesn't want to complicate things and prefers they settle it with a one-on-one, asking what they think. Scorpion asks if he really thinks they are dumb enough to fight a warrior one-on-one, and Jo An-soo says not to worry as they'll compete in the category they're most confident in. A bit later, after some negotiations, we hear Jo An-soo talking to Captain Underpants, saying that his specialty is mind control and if Jo An-soo resists, he will win. Captain Underpants starts popping a chub, saying that it's an honor that such a handsome man knows so much about him. Scorpion can't believe what she's hearing, and Captain Underpants continues saying that they set aside this competition and he can join their religion. Jo An-soo says nah, bro, I'm good, and tells him to think about it for a second. His religion isn't even a part of the 7 religions or among the second-tier ones, and it's literally a no-name. Why would he join a pseudo-religion that's not even listed to begin with? Captain Underpants says as expected from a non-believer, he'll make sure to modify his mind with the love and mercy of their goddess. He then stretches his hand out as a green aura forms on it. He tells Jo An-soo to kneel before him, and he shall bestow upon him the opportunity to meet their goddess. As the aura starts to envelop Jo An-soo, he says the mind control trait of a priest clasher is strong. We see him starting to fight against it, and he says he wants to kneel but his traits are too strong for that, as he uppercuts Captain Underpants, sending bro flying. He lands on the ground, and Jo An-soo apologizes but says not even the saintess could mess with him due to his divine resistance. His boys start carrying him away, saying that was one hell of a fight. Jo An-soo then tells Scorpion it's her turn, and she says he's not half bad, but that the Poison Gang is on a different level from those perverts he just dealt with. He says he doesn't think so, and they'll find out once they start. He says her specialty is brewing poison obviously, and she should just give him the strongest she has and he'll drink it. She laughs, saying that if he wants to die that much, she's more than willing to help him. The Iron Fist dude starts begging, saying that he knows he is strong, but drinking poison is literally suicide. Jo An-soo tells him it's fine as he's more than confident enough, and she holds it out, telling him to drink it, and if he withstands it, he'll win, but if not, obviously, he'll die, which means she takes the W. He says as expected, she gave him the picnic knockout. It's the poison that causes the most pain among the groups. He says it smells like ass and tells her to get ready to get hit in the face if he doesn't die from this. She laughs, telling him not to beg for the antidote after he drinks it, and he says he didn't plan on it as he starts chugging it. Immediately, it starts setting in as he drops to his knees from the pain, and we see his face starting to turn purple. He says it feels as if his blood is boiling, and Scorpion starts putting her foot on him, saying that surely he feels it, and if he begs for his life while barking, maybe she'll consider helping. Woof woof. Jo Eun-soo says he needs to lock in and equips his traits, saying that their poison is created by mixing in special medicine, so just normal poison resistance won't cut it. He has to withstand the damage as much as possible with healing traits and control the poison himself. As it starts moving towards his arm, she's surprised that he's focusing it there. We see he has obtained the trait called drug resistance. Thanks to him getting this, he can now control poison with his mana. He then pulls out his sword, saying that it's time for the last part as he slices his hand open. It starts as a little blood, but then poison pours out. They can't believe that that's a way for him to remove it, and Scorpion says that's crazy. Then she realizes that she's about to get hit, and Jo Eun-soo says that poison tastes like ass, so it's his turn now. She wonders when he closed the gap so fast, and he grabs onto her finger and rips it off, causing her to scream in pain. He throws it on the floor as she falls to her knees, and she asks if he really thinks he can get away with doing this to her. He tells her to stop with the third-rate villain talk and get lost. As she walks away, she says she'll remember this, and the Iron Fist dudes are just super happy they won and say that serves them right. Jo Eun-soo says that victory was always certain. What matters now is if he can get the shops to open. The merchants wonder if they're going to continue being harassed now that the Iron Fist gang won. Jo Eun-soo says surely everybody here will recognize that he did everything to achieve this, and the Iron Fist dude says of course. Jo Eun-soo says there's one thing that the Iron Fist gang must keep in mind in this marketplace, and the dude says of course, asking what it is. Jo Eun-soo says the protection fee for this market will be half of what the Dagger gang used to take. The dude tells him that means they'll have like no revenue, and Jo Eun-soo asks if he's really talking back to him. The dude says of course and says their boss will understand. The merchants hear that he's only taking half and say that he's practically their savior. They start praising him and bowing and the whole works. Jo Eun-soo laughs and says he only did what he had to and just remember to give him some discounts from now on. And since this marketplace has literally everything, of course, he's just milking it as much as he can. They start telling him that they'll give him at least an 80% discount, and he says that he's so glad to have raised his favorability of the NPCs. The antique shop is finally open, so he heads there. The dude says he's heard a lot about him from the other merchants and he's the hero who saved their marketplace. Jo Eun-soo says nah, he only did what was right. The dude tells him not to be so humble, as those gangsters were always causing them a lot of trouble, and tells him to look at his arm as he had to close the shop because he got beat up and broke his arm. Jo Eun-soo asks if he got it treated, and the dude says he got a qigong treatment and is glad it proved to be effective. If it weren't for the therapist, he would still be stuck in the hospital. Jo Eun-soo is surprised that there is a qigong therapist here in the city, and the dude asks if he wants him to introduce each of them as he's very good at what he does. Jo Eun-soo says he'd appreciate that, but he has something he came here to buy. The dude tells him to take a look as they have everything except the ones they don't. You know it's a good shop when they say that. Jo Eun-soo says there's a lot of good quality items out here, but he wants to see the items downstairs as he taps the floor. The shopkeep is surprised, asking how he knows, and Jo Eun-soo has that shit-eating grin, saying he has his ways. Of course, it's because the dude's a no-lifer. They head down, and the shopkeep says he usually never shows them to a first-timer, but since it's him, he's more than happy to. Jo Eun-soo thanks him, and the dude says it's a collection of magical products, so look around as much as he likes. Jo Eun-soo says that Chunbok had a lot of unique items back in the game too, and above all else, he has the hornpipe of the ancient god, which has the mana cultivation technique sealed within it, and that this is the jackpot item. Now that he's secured the top priority item, he can make use of everything else too. He puts them all on the table upstairs, telling Chunbok that this is what he wants to buy. Chunbok says as expected, his eye for detail is good. He starts naming out all of the items, which I won't until they become relevant. But he does tell him that since they are all rare items, it's going to be 2 billion won. Jo Eun-soo's looking at him like he misheard him, and Chunbok laughs, saying that would be the price for a stranger, but since he's the guardian angel of the marketplace, he will charge him a bargain deal, and it's only going to be 500 million. Jo Eun-soo sighs, saying that he scared him with his joke and that the 80% discount sure is sweet. All he has to do now is find a priest superhuman who can release the holy seal on the item, and of course, he's got a clue where to find that person by sheer luck of course. He asks Chunbok to give him the address of the therapist he mentioned earlier. Jo Eun-soo heads further into town as he sees some knocking on room 101, asking if anybody's in there. He then puts his ear to the door, asking if maybe the dude's out for a walk. When the dude opens the door, asking him what he wants early in the morning, Jo Eun-soo says that based on the guy's whitish hair and pale face, this is the dude he was looking for. He says it's the afternoon, yet he's calling it the morning, and the dude says that it is for him, asking what he wants. Jo Eun-soo says he was told that his treatment is excellent, and the dude immediately changes his demeanor now that he's learned he's a customer, saying that he thought he was a gangster and tells him to come right in. He points to the bed, saying that he can lie there, asking where he's injured. Jo Eun-soo looks around, saying that considering that the statue is here too, he's very certain. The dude asks what he's doing, saying that he can just lay on the bed, but Jo Eun-soo says that he's not here for the treatment actually, and he reaches into his bag, pulling out the horn, saying that he's here to get him to unseal the item. The dude asks what he means by unseal, reminding him that he's a therapist and that he has to go to a temple to make that request. Jo Eun-soo says no, because such a place would demand a high price, and he may get the item taken, and if he unseals the item, he'll give him 100 million won, calling him Priest Kim. The dude freezes up, asking how he knows his name, and Jo Eun-soo says of course he does, as this is the third tutorial character of Arcane Soul. He is the priest of a forgotten religion that serves the deity that died 3,000 years ago. He is one of the few innocent characters in the entirety of the game. With so many delinquent priests in Arcane Soul, it's very difficult to find someone who's kind-hearted. In other words, he has a lot of uses for somebody like him. He tells Priest Kim that it's going to be a secret, and the dude says that he doesn't think it's going to be an easy task, but he'll give it a try. Jo Eun-soo smiles, saying as expected, he's a nice dude. They both sit down on the floor, and he puts the horn down and takes a deep breath before starting to release a divine aura around the horn. The seal then slowly starts to be removed, and Priest Kim says that it's working. As the caution tape starts to unfold, it breaks apart, revealing the actual nature of the item, which of course, we already knew, has a trait which is called the Einherjar cultivation technique. Priest Kim is just surprised it worked, and Jo Eun-soo says as expected, his skill is excellent. Priest Kim asks if this is a mana cultivation technique, which Jo Eun-soo says yes, thanking him. He then raises the horn up to his lips and blows on it, sending out a very powerful force field. He starts to feel the circuits in his body being cleaned up, and he says that the bad mana in his body is now being absorbed completely, and the effect sure is nice. It's as if he has found a newfound form of serenity. After about 2 weeks, he's going to be able to absorb all of the mana and hit level 3. Priest Kim starts clapping, saying this is his first time seeing a warrior use a mana cultivation technique. Jo Eun-soo says that it's not a common sight for sure, and Priest Kim tells him to lay down as he's sure he's exhausted. Jo Eun-soo's actually shaking, saying that too much information poured into his brain and he's tired, and then he's going to be in his care for a bit. Priest Kim says of course, and he paid him a lot of money, so he can rest here as long as he'd like. Jo Eun-soo falls into a deep sleep, saying he's a kind person just like in the game. It's a good thing he found a trustworthy priest, so it's going to benefit him in the long run. After a bit, he wakes up to the sound of something being poured, and he wonders what the hell the noise is as he sees gasoline being poured onto the bag of money. Jo Eun-soo asks what he's doing as Priest Kim puts the gasoline down. He then whips out a lighter, saying, "Oh forgotten God, accept my blessing and finally be resurrected," as he drops it into the money, and Jo Eun-soo wonders what the hell is going on right now. I would like to know too. Jo Eun-soo immediately grabs onto his hands, asking him if he's mentally ill. He pushes him to the floor, asking what his problem is, asking what he thinks he's doing, and why he's trying to burn the money he gave him as an offering. Priest Kim says he has too, as it's an offering to his god. Jo Eun-soo asks why he would have to offer money, and the dude says it's because his god only takes cash. It's the only way for him to earn divine power as well. Jo Eun-soo says this must be the time when he still believed that the god that Priest Kim worships has been dead since 3,000 years ago. Even back in the game, the religion had almost no power until Priest Kim revived the god. So he didn't think he would know how to serve his god properly, so he tells him flat out that his method is wrong. He's not supposed to burn money, he's supposed to burn gold and vaporize it. Priest Kim says that's something a heretic would say, and Jo Eun-soo says that he definitely hasn't tried it before. Priest Kim tells him not to say things that are wrong so confidently, and the order has established and practiced this method for thousands of years. Jo Eun-soo says that there must be a reason why their god has yet to be resurrected if the method is not wrong. The point's so strong it hurts, bro. And Jo Eun-soo says it's difficult to burn gold right now, so he has an idea for another method. Priest Kim asks what it is. So Jo Eun-soo says that since he helped him earn the cultivation technique, He wants to help him too. We then see some kind of golden soup. As Priest Kim says that they shouldn't be doing this here, Jo An-soo tells him that he should just drink it, and once he does, his divine power is going to increase a lot, and he needs to focus and feel if his god is responding. Priest Kim says if he insists so much, he might as well try, and he starts chugging it while Jo An-soo grins. Immediately, he starts to feel his chest burning up. As his hair starts to grow stiff, we see his divine power flowing out from his body, and Jo An-soo asks how it is. Priest Kim says, "Holy shit, this is the real deal, and that this is way better than when he had burned millions of won." Jo An-soo says that his growth will accelerate once he starts using this method, and Priest Kim starts wagging his tail, saying he doesn't know how to repay him for this at all. Then he realizes something, telling him to take this while handing him a necklace. Jo An-soo explains that this is a holy artifact that contains the trait cure. Priest Kim says that he believes that his god will be happy to see him have this, and Jo An-soo says that since he's offering, he won't refuse, but of course, he says this was way more profitable than he expected. Come to think of it, Priest Kim's order actually gave a lot of good quests too. He grabs onto Priest Kim's hands, asking if he minds if they pray together. Priest Kim asks why, so Jo An-soo tells him that he wants to repay him, and just like in Pokemon, he has caught Priest Kim. It jumps to a week later as there are bottles of liquid gold, and Priest Kim is begging him to stop as he feels like his entire body is about to turn gold. Jo An-soo says that until he turns into Midas, he needs to consume more. Priest Kim says that he's going to get mana poisoning if this continues, and Jo An-soo hits him with his Sailor Moon eyes, asking him if that's really what he thinks, guaranteeing that won't happen, so to start praying. He then grabs onto his cheeks and starts pouring it down his throat, saying that he shouldn't worry, as all 4 tutorial characters have their own unique features. If Warrior Kim had a blank body, Priest Kim can't get mana poisoning. That allows him to grow at a crazy rate. We see the bottle empty, but Priest Kim feels awful. His divine power then starts to surge, creating a circle around him to the point that it even blinds Jo An-soo as he is now leveled up to level 3. He says this is a level where he can even prepare to be an apostle. Jo An-soo laughs, saying that's great, and at this rate, it won't take long until he can prepare for it, and that he's had enough divine experience to become one, he thinks. Also, since his level is now 3, he needs to convene a regional assembly and obtain official recognition as a bishop. Priest Kim says that he has too, and thanks to Jo An-soo's help, he was able to grow so fast that he won't forget his debt. Jo An-soo says nah, he just really likes helping people, but of course, he's banking on the fact that dude's gonna want to repay him for the rest of his life, as he wants to get artifacts from his god's storage. Priest Kim says that he would like to make one request, and Jo An-soo asks what it is. Priest Kim says that he's planning on calling for a regional assembly, but he's too overwhelmed to go alone, asking if Jo An-soo could be his bodyguard until the meeting and that the other bishop will be there too. Jo An-soo says sure, and he can do that. And now that he's finished with his growth, it's time to start the quest line. It jumps to the next day as their church is still under reconstruction. They start congratulating Priest Kim for having reached level 3. He thanks them, while Jo An-soo is just a little disappointed, saying that the scale sure is small, and that he can't believe there's only this many people in the meeting. A man then enters, saying that this is definitely a pitiful sight, and we are introduced to the other bishop, who asks Priest Kim who gave him permission to organize an assembly. He says that every priest of the order has the right to organize one, and Pope Foreskin says that only applies to ordinary priests, and it's a different story when it comes to dealing with an apostate. Priest Kim asks what he means, as he hasn't renounced his religion, so Pope Foreskin says that his level rose to 3 within only 3 months, and there's no way he could improve this fast with normal methods, so he must have sold his brothers out to receive stronger divine power. Priest Kim tells him that's nonsense, and he simply found a great way to level up. The bishop then says he won't hear any more excuses, sending in his men to capture him. Jo An-soo steps up, saying that he can't just have him scaring the kid like this, and when the men ask who he is, Jo An-soo laughs, saying that he's his bodyguard. The bishop says that this is the order's business, and they don't need to get an outsider involved. Jo An-soo says he just told him that he's his bodyguard, so he's not an outsider, and that this boomer has no logic. Priest Kim then says that he simply drank gold to level up, and hopefully, they can trust him. The bishop says that consuming gold is something a heretic would do, and how dare he commit such a misdeed and expect to get away with it. Priest Kim tries to tell him that it's nothing like that, and their god allowed it. The bishop then prepares a fireball, saying that he will personally cleanse him and offer him to their god. He shoots the fireball out towards Priest Kim, who screams as we see it explode, and everybody wonders if Priest Kim is done for. Of course, Jo An-soo blocked it with his mana shield, saying that he can't attack somebody without warning like that, as that's blasphemy. The priest is surprised that he blocked his magic, and Jo An-soo asks if he really wants to attack an apostle candidate like this. The priest gets pissed, saying there's no way a heretic could become an apostle. Priest Kim says he's not too sure what Jo An-soo means, and Jo An-soo tells him not to worry and eat this and pray. Priest Kim asks why, and the bishop says that if he doesn't want to burn with Priest Kim, he needs to move aside. Jo An-soo says if he proves he's an apostle, he wants to know what the bishop will do. As a golden aura starts to completely fill out the room, we see Priest Kim on his knees, praying to his god. The bishop immediately recognizes it as the coming of an apostle, and Jo An-soo says that there's a reason he didn't make Priest Kim the apostle yesterday. It was since the old man has some serious brain delay. Not only that, he's a hated villain who envies Priest Kim, so he has to get rid of him here. The condition for Priest Kim to awaken is for him to swallow a golden artwork of a different order. While the bishop is being accused of committing blasphemy, it won't be difficult to make Priest Kim the apostle. We see a halo starting to form on Priest Kim's head as his eyes glow golden. Jo An-soo pulls out his blade, saying that now that the apostle is here, it's time to teach this blasphemer a lesson. Jo An-soo says that he wants to ask Priest Kim's god one thing, asking how he should punish a bastard who assassinated a fellow bishop out of jealousy, while trying to frame his son as a heretic in order to kill him. The bishop asks how he knows all of this. As Priest Kim starts to hear back from his god, he says that the only answer is to kill him. Jo An-soo swings his blade forward, directly towards the bishop's neck, stopping it right at it, saying that since it's the deity's orders, there's no way he can refuse it. The priest tries to plead for his life, but Jo An-soo slits his throat, and the dude bleeds out on the spot. Everybody wonders what the hell is going on since somebody just died inside of their church. Jo An-soo starts to smile, saying that he killed the villain before he caused any further trouble. Even Priest Kim is still in disbelief, saying that was still one of their bishops. Jo An-soo tells him there's no need to pity him as he deserved it, asking what his god is telling him to do next. Priest Kim says that he was told to go to the Levant region where the order first began and to offer him gold there. Jo An-soo says that he told him gold was the right choice and he should go there and expand his influence. Priest Kim bows, saying that he doesn't know how to repay him, but of course, Jo An-soo says he doesn't have to, as he fully intends to milk this. He heads back home, as he is actually in front of Priest Kim's statue, saying the reward makes him feel good about helping the priest now. As he got a lot of valuable items, he got his first A-rank holy sword, which is worth over billions. What's more, he got a divine statue that grants sanctuary around his location. Sanctuary is a skill that turns a certain area into a safe zone according to the owner's will. If an enemy intrudes, it exerts an expulsion or suppression effect. In other words, it means that he can just start going nuts on the table practicing his training without having to worry about even the slightest interruption. As we see him practicing his swordsmanship, he says it's time to have some fun with his training as he raises his sword into the air. It then jumps to later as he is inside of the bath to see how long he can hold his breath. He comes out looking like a decrepit old man, gasping for air, saying that he probably overtrained a little as even the mana spring is not healing him. But even so, he had plenty of time to practice his Einherjar cultivation technique and the mountain-breaking swordsmanship, and it's time to check the results of all of his hard work. He lifts up his phone. Seon-soo asks him if he's been doing well. Jo An-soo laughs, saying of course, and he thinks it's time to warm up his body a little bit, asking if there's anything he can help with. Seon-soo says they have a pretty troublesome request right now, asking if he remembers the first landfill. Jo An-soo says of course, asking how he could forget as it was the very first place he worked in where he fought Hedgehog. Seon-soo says that an entire cleaning team went in there and got mutilated, which means there must be at least 6 mutants right now. Jo An-soo asks why he's not contacting the Janitor Association at that point. Seon-soo says the public officials have requested them in secret, saying they don't want to make it a big deal. Jo An-soo replies, saying it would get at least a few of them fired, asking what the reward is for completion. Seon-soo says the reward's a little stingy. It's 100 mil for a level 1 mutant, 300 for a level 3. But they are offering an artifact which is an arcane rifle with a curse debuff. Jo An-soo asks what the debuff is. Seon-soo tells him it's an item related to him. It's a rifle used by the Old Father's order. Jo An-soo thinks about it, saying this is a request he definitely can't pass up, as the arcane rifle used by the order would put a black flame debuff on its user, but he's already overcome it. He gets up out of his bath, saying he's going to head over immediately. Bro is definitely on the sauce. He heads to the landfill as we see an ominous aura from it. Jo On-soo starts walking through it holding a gun, saying that it only hasn't been cleaned for a few days yet it's this contaminated and that something seems off. He can't even see straight, so he has to be prepared for an ambush as he slots in sensitive and focus. On cue, he senses something dashing around him in the fog, and he looks around, saying the monster's noises are coming from multiple directions, and he can't pinpoint exactly where it is. He then starts to feel a gust of wind from behind, and he turns to greet it as we see some kind of gargoyle bat thing leaping at him. Jo On-soo squeezes the trigger on his gun while telling the thing to die, riddling it full of bullets, only injuring it as it flies away through the air. He asks if this is really all there is as he continues firing. He realizes that the bullets are bouncing off of its wings. The monster loops through the air, redirecting towards him. Jo On-soo slides sideways to dodge the attack, saying holy shit, if he didn't switch out to the evasion trait, he would have been ripped apart just now. It's a bulletproof flying enemy, and since he's using a gun, the longer the fight goes, the worse it will be. So there's only one solution left. He lowers his gun, pointing it directly forward as the monster flies towards him. He says he has to end this fight with one clean shot. As the monster gets closer, he squeezes the trigger on the gun, hitting it straight between the eyes, and with its final breath, it screams, falling on top of him with blood pouring out of its head. He also acquires the trait of aiming, and Jo On-soo laughs, saying that he won, but not only that, he earned a high-tier shooting trait. He then hears the sound of footsteps, which alerts him to the fact that even more mutants are on their way because of the noise, and he won't be able to face all of them. But then he starts thinking about it, saying that maybe he can. We see him using stealth, hiding behind a pillar near the monster's corpse, and he says that he's going to wait for them to appear first. On cue, some goofy-ass dudes start walking forward, and they look like they're legitimately made out of Play-Doh. Jo On-soo smiles, saying that he's so glad his cuties are here while holding onto a grenade. He then yeets a couple forward, saying once they gather in one place, he's going to wipe them all at once. His grenades go off, sending debris flying everywhere, and he says that there's going to only be more from where that came from. As he raises his rifle, he starts unloading it forward into the fire, making the slime dude split apart into chunks. And he laughs, saying that he's got to use these smart tactics more. He's then alert to something as more monsters are appearing around him. He says they made no noise, so he didn't even notice them. But there's something weird about these guys, as they aren't actually even mutants but specters from a necromancer, and there are so many of them. He then hears a radio on one of the specters calling out to him, saying that they would like to have a chat. Jo On-soo can't believe that the specter is talking instead of realizing that it's probably a speaker on the monster. Jo On-soo then sees the speaker, saying that now he understands that he's talking through the specter, and that the person talking to him must be the necromancer who created them. The necromancer asks why he's causing havoc in their territory. Jo On-soo asks what he means by his territory, as it's a contaminated landfill. Then one thing comes to mind. He says that the Janitor Association on the surface is a benevolent organization cleaning up contaminated mana, but in reality, they're one of the most notorious villainous organizations in Arcane Soul. Cleaning up the contaminated mana is just a cover-up for them, and their true nature is committing all sorts of dirty deeds to expand their power, and that is most likely what he is dealing with. He wonders if they were behind this incident as well, saying they created a situation where the government would have no choice but to seek their help, thus strengthening their influence. Meanwhile, they plan to use the incidents as an excuse to fire officials who harbored hostility towards them. The necromancer says there is no real reason for this fight, and he wants to make a suggestion. He's quite talented, asking if he wants to join the Janitor Association. Jo On-soo sarcastically asks why he would join an organization that's causing creature terror attacks at landfills. The dude tells him he's serious about it and, with his skills, he'd rank among the top in the association. Jo On-soo flips him off, saying hell no, and the name sounds like shit anyway, as it's not cool. The necromancer laughs, saying it seems like he doesn't know his place and that if he doesn't want to join them, then he can just die. He'll reanimate his corpse as the specters start running in. Jo On-soo shoots a shot, which causes a giant explosion, sending some of the specters flying, and he tells Buddy to take a seat. The specters, obviously not being mutants, begin to reanimate just at the cost of mana. Jo On-soo says he forgot firearms were useless against these things, and in that case, holy attributes work wonders as he pulls out his blade. The necromancer is surprised to see a holy sword, saying he thought he was a gunslinger. Jo On-soo starts swinging, cutting the specters in half, telling the dude to shut up and that he'll find him soon enough and deal with him. He then makes his way further into the specters, dashing around with clean cuts, dealing with their limbs and limiting their mobility. He says thanks to the attribute advantage, the fight isn't difficult at all, but there seems to be no end to them, so he has to switch strategies. With his trait specialized for endurance and adding his artifact's unique trait, he'd have 9 active ones, which include the trait from the sword, his gloves, and his necklace. The items are the ones he bought at the store. He says this should be more than enough. He leaps forward, saying that he can't wait to test this, and he launches an attack creating 4 aura blades that send the specters backward. He says it's working to a certain extent, but it's still draining the hell out of him as he comes in with another attack, obliterating even more of them. Some of them, though, brush off the attack, and Joansu says he's starting to feel dizzy, but one more time should be more than enough. As he starts to wrap himself in a blue aura, he slowly walks forward, which turns into an instantaneous dash as he has unlocked a new trait called Rush, which is a skill that allows him to charge in a straight line, causing damage along the way. He's excited, saying that he actually didn't expect to get this trait, but he's glad he did as he dashes through them. He says now he can earn another one as he stops his momentum. Powering up his legs, he leaps up into the air, unlocking another trait called Jump, which, of course, is exactly what it sounds like. He says with both of these together, it should be a breeze to escape anything they throw at him. As he starts to go back down, he says the small fries are also going to be made light work, as he starts bouncing around like Bellamy from One Piece, just not getting his ass kicked. After a bit, he's gassed out, saying that as most of them cleared, but the problem is he's totally exhausted. The necromancer laughs, saying he didn't expect him to be a paladin, and he wants him even more now. Joansu tells him to show himself if he's that confident. The necromancer asks what kind of dumbass mage would fight one-on-one against a warrior, telling him to accept his gift instead. As there is a shield bearer's corpse in front of him, which is a level 2 undead, Joansu says this is gonna be a problem as he hasn't managed to heal up properly yet. The shield bearer swings down at him, which he sidesteps, only for an arrow imbued with some kind of purple magic to fly in and hit him in the back. He turns, wondering what's going on, and the necromancer says that his movements are pretty decent, and he can't wait to make him a corpse knight. Joansu says this reminds him of a certain rule in Arcane Soul: when fighting against a necromancer, you can't fight their servant. As he leaps into the air preparing for an attack, it's actually a feint as he jumps straight down to the ground, sliding underneath it. He begins looking around, wondering where the arrow came from. He then spots somebody up in the stands and says that must be him. He then starts to use Rush, running away from the shield bearer's attack, heading straight towards the necromancer. He then jumps off the floor, flying through the air, saying he's gonna deal with this coward, and he pulls out his holy sword, saying he made a mistake revealing himself. The necromancer says that it seems like he used his brain a bit. And Joansu says he actually recognizes the dude's face, and his name is Karen, an R-rank necromancer. He's one of the directors of the Janitor Association and the final boss of this landfill stage. He is a level 3 superhuman. Karen sticks his hand out, saying things aren't going to go as planned as a bunch of purple hands start to fly out from his back, latching onto Joansu, who tries to fight them off, and Karen says that he's never gonna reach him, telling him to die as he starts to shoot him full of arrows and shocks the hell out of him. Joansu screams, and Karen laughs, saying he loves the way it sounds, but he should have known his place. Joansu says this is actually his ultimate move called Black Fire, as we see him forming a red spirit bomb. He says this is the end of the game. Joansu says he's glad he noticed as he breaks his arm free. Karen asks why he's struggling so hard, saying it's quite adorable. Joansu asks if he really thinks so, as he never intended to finish the fight instantly in the first place. If he equips just the right traits when the boss mob uses its ultimate, something fun happens. Karen says he's tired of hearing him talk and launches the spirit bomb directly towards him. As black fire flies in, we see the arm still restraining him. Joansu says it's time. Once the trinity of swordsmanship, magic, and physicality converge into perfect harmony, the trait manifests in the face of certain doom. It's the ultimate technique that cuts all tangible and intangible objects with sword aura. As he swings down, a bright golden beam exits his sword, cutting black fire in half, and we see him glaring at Karen, who's freaking out, saying it can't be. The trait is called Flash, and Karen can't do anything but watch as it flies in, cutting him straight down the middle. It is the strongest form of swordsmanship that only those who have reached the pinnacle of the sword can master. It causes a massive explosion from the attack of Blackfire, and it even launches Joansu, as he's laying on the ground, gassed out, saying he almost died. He sighs out of relief, but is happy still as he defeated the dungeon boss Karen. In the game, if you want to rate it at level 2, you need a full party. Even if you're level 3, you wouldn't be able to solo it with ordinary traits and equipment, and he was only able to win because he played the game for so long. But now it's time for him to get the loot, and since he's solo, he doesn't have to share it at all. It jumps back to Seon-soo's office, as he's saying he's so amazing while fanning him off. Jo-on-soo hypes it up, saying it was nothing, and then touches his shoulder, which Jo-on-soo says is where he got injured, and to be careful. Seon-soo apologizes for hurting his body, as the other people in front of them are just wondering what the hell they are watching. They thank Jo-on-soo for his hard work, saying they can't believe he defeated all of them alone. He says he was only doing his job and then tells them that when he entered the landfill, something entirely different from the request happened. As he pulls out all of the equipment that Karen was using, he asks if they recognize them. He says this is a bunch of mana equipment that is used to create specters, and that it is used by Karen from the Janitor Association. Jo-on-soo says that's right, and this incident wasn't an accident, as it was intended. The dude slams the table out of anger, saying that he can't believe those bastards did that, and Jo-on-soo says it seems like they didn't like them to begin with. The dude says they always charge them with ridiculous costs, so they had a hard time in the past, as they had their own conflicts, but he didn't expect them to turn innocent people into mutants. Jo-on-soo wonders if he really had no idea, but thinks about it, saying that it makes sense that the reality of the association begins to unravel only after the player completes the quest. The dude bows his head, saying that he's sorry they put him in unnecessary danger because of this. Jo-on-soo says he just did what he had to in order to blow away the villains, but of course, they better have some good compensation besides just an apology. The dude says this is the reward they promised, and Jo-on-soo asks why they've given him 2 boxes instead of 1. He says that one is the arcane gun, and the other is an extra reward for doing something so dangerous. Jo-on-soo looks at it, and we see he's pogging out, asking if this is holy water. He can't believe that he's getting a free essential potion that he has to buy at the temple, and he hides his excitement. The dude tells him to stay safe, as they plan on accusing the Janitor Association based on the evidence he gave them. Jo-on-soo says that means they're going to retaliate against him, and the dude says exactly, but they can't just let something of this scale pass. Jo-on-soo says it'll be fine, as he'll find a way to survive. That night, as him and Seon-soo are driving downtown, Seon-soo says that it might be a good idea to stay low for a bit to avoid the Janitor Association. Jo-on-soo says that he doesn't think hiding is the best idea. After clearing the landfill quest, the player will receive linked quests, inevitably conflicting with the association once more, and it's only natural since the player would have made trouble for them, not to mention killing the director. But the most important thing is that the association quest line is divided into 2 various routes. The worst one out of them is doing nothing and wasting time. In that case, the president of the association will attack the player's house with dozens of superhumans. On the other hand, the route with the easiest difficulty is one that he's also considering. Jo-on-soo asks Seon-soo if he's ever heard of Jenyubong. Seon-soo says of course, and it's the forbidden area located in the south of the region. There's a large-scale poppy farm, so he'd get in trouble if he went there. Jo-on-soo then tells him that the place is owned by the association. Seon-soo asks what kind of business they have farming poppies, and Jo-on-soo says it's not about the poppies. They are conducting body modification and human trafficking in that place. They're nothing more than a fancy criminal organization. Seon-soo asks if they're out of their minds, and Jo-on-soo says that's right, which is why he plans on attacking them first. Seon-soo whips the car, almost crashing it, asking him to repeat himself. Jo-on-soo doesn't and instead starts showing him a list of supplies he needs, such as claymores and EMP bombs. Seon-soo asks what the hell he's planning to do with all of this, saying that it's going to cost a lot of money to do this. Jo-on-soo tells him that money is something only an amateur would worry about, and that these are the items he obtained while clearing out the monsters in the landfill. Seon-soo says this should cover the cost, but he can assure him that not even he could fight against the association solo, as the president is a level 4, and the executives are both level 3. Jo-on-soo says that he never mentioned fighting alone, and for now, he doesn't need to worry about anything, just getting the items on the list he prepared. 2 days later, at their poppy farm hideout, we see men on guard as Jo-on-soo, in stealth, reaches behind one of them, hitting him with the "does this rag smell funny" no jutsu, knocking the dude out. His eyes are wide open, high-key he is dead. The other guy asks what's going on, only to get shot straight in the chest, falling over and dying on the spot. Jo-on-soo takes off his stealth, saying that he loves infiltrating no matter how often he does it, and that should do with the outer security guards. Even though Bro said earlier he didn't like stealth, he decides it's time to check the area. As he starts calling somebody, we see a man getting hit straight in the face, as it's none other than Iron Fist, saying that, thanks to him clearing the way, they have easily secured the underground. But they sure are evil bastards, as they have forcibly been conducting body modification on children and adults, then trafficking them across the line. Jo An-soo says exactly, which is why they need to be wiped out, asking if he's finished checking the place. Iron Fist says this is indeed a proper modification workshop as he's walking around it. Jo An-soo says that he can have it once they're done, and he'll help him with enhancing his men's power. Iron Fist says that sounds good, but asks if he's sure he can take on the association, as it's going to be troublesome if they get involved, and he doesn't want to deal with the blowback. Jo An-soo says of course, asking if he's ever seen him act without reason, and that this is their main source of income, yet the security is much looser than the rest. He then pulls out his lighter and starts turning into Lloyd yet again, saying that it's the best place to start the downfall of the association as he starts lighting the poppies ablaze. The next morning, at the association tower, a man is frantically running down the hallway, bursting the door open, telling the president there's some major news as the poppy farm has been attacked. The dude asks what he means, so the dude explains that the one who killed Karen has taken over their hideout. The president punches the table, asking how dare he attack them so blatantly, and we are introduced to Park Dae-iop, the president of the association. His assistant then tells him to look at this. While shaking, he hands him the phone, and we see that Jo An-soo took a hella manly selfie with the poppy farm on fire. The president crushes the phone, saying that he's going to make sure Warrior Kim is broken into pieces. Some time later, we see the entire poppy field is now completely gone as there is an army now they're saying they can't believe it's actually all gone, and that Warrior Kim must be an absolute psycho. Baldy tells the rest that all they have to do is capture him, as they want to show the president the power of the Department of External Affairs. They start marching their way forward, and Baldy tells the rest that he could be sniping from the building, so to be careful. His boy says that they'll blow him away the moment they see him. They spot a gun poking out of a window and fire at it, saying nicely done. It falls, and Baldy says his prediction was correct. They start gassing him up, but the ground begins to shake. Baldy turns, wondering what's going on, only to see his men get exploded, sending them through the air. They now realize that there are claymores all around. They start to shake, wondering what to do, as Jo An-soo has also sent in a rocket. Baldy looks up at it, saying, "Oh shit, RIP homie did not even last 5 panels." Jo An-soo laughs from the security room, saying it's good he worked overnight to install bombs and mines, and thanks to his special trait, of course he's talking about stealth, there's no way for them to find them beforehand. They start running around in panic, falling victim to his mines, and he says he's not crazy enough to fight hundreds of them head on. He'll kill all of them remotely from this underground control room. As explosions roar all across the poppy field, we see some kind of mana barrier. Dae-iop says despite how it looked, seems like he had really prepared thoroughly. But as expected of a man who outright provoked them. One of Dae-iop's men steps up, saying, "Leave this to him," as he has finished analyzing his tactics. He sounds exactly like I do, it must be a robot. His name is Cyborg, and he is an R, ranked level 3 superhuman and also the vice president of the association. Dae-iop says to make sure he brings him to him, as he's going to kill him as painfully as possible. A grenade then explodes in front of them, and Cyborg says that it's safe here and it's a good thing they're throwing grenades to check because they'll just clear out the trap slowly and proceed. Another rocket begins to fly in towards them, but Cyborg swats that shit aside, sending it exploding behind him. He asks his men if they got the position, and they say yes, it was shot from the right side of the rooftop. They then start shooting at it, causing it to explode, revealing that it was just automated turrets. Cyborg says they're almost at the hideout and they're going to show them hell. Or he might already be tasting it as they make their way into the building. Jo An-soo clicks his tongue, saying as expected of cyborgs, they're really inhumane. He then gets a warning on the desk of a red light flashing, and he says they got here faster than he expected and that the newbie killer quest sure lives up to its reputation. His door handle is then blown off as it slowly opens, revealing 2 women asking why he's hiding underground like a rat, telling him to come play with them. God, I wish it were me. We are introduced to Ebony and Viper, which are also R, rank level 3 superhumans and executives of the association. They see the chairs actually empty and the screens just filled with images of him flipping them off. They wonder how he knew they were coming, but we see that he is in stealth, smiling, saying that of course he anticipated this. As Ebony and Viper look around the room, he says the Janitor Association's plan was to cause a commotion at the front as if it was engaging in a war of attrition while assassin executives strike from behind. Of course, he knows all of their tactics. He pulls out a flash grenade, pulling the pin, throwing it on the floor in front of them. Ebony asks what that is, only for both of them to be flashbanged, and they realize now they've fallen for a trap. Jo An-soo runs past them laughing, saying, "Damn right, and he has no business with them." Viper screams, saying that she's going to kill him when she captures him. Jo An-soo heads upstairs, saying the assassins will soon enough catch up to him, so he has to move quickly. He avoids their bullets as they shoot overhead, and he says he has to focus on defending since they caught up already. He uses both mana barrier and protect, forming a mana shield in the hallway. The bullets hit it, of course not penetrating it, but it is cracking it, and he tells them to shoot him all they want because he's going to block them all. Ebony asks if he really thinks he'll do so. As we see the bullet actually piercing through his barrier, Jo An-soo realizes this is bad as the barrier shatters open, sending fragments of it flying everywhere. He stumbles, falling over, and Ebony asks how that tasted as the bullets are imbued with explosion magic. Jo An-soo says, "Damn," and spots a clock which gotta be important for him to eyeball during this. Viper then tells him that deserts are on the side as well, as she shoots a crossbow bolt forward. It hits him in the side, which causes him to flinch a little bit because of the pain. Viper says this is nothing compared to the pain that he's about to feel. He tells them they're just some villains in shitty latex suits. She asks him to repeat himself, only to kick him in the face, saying this ought to fix his attitude. He flies straight into the clock he spotted earlier. Viper says surely it hurts while laughing, saying that it's a potent poison that affects the arteries, so it'll be hard to endure. Ebony then grabs him by the collar, saying that it's time to take him to the president. Jo An-soo starts to smirk, saying that now they're in his territory, and acting was harder than he thought. He asks if they hear that clock noise, saying surely it reminds them of something. They ask what he's saying, and he says it's almost as if a giant time bomb is right beside them. He then starts to imbue his feet, preparing to use rush, dashing away, telling them to stay there and rot. He says Ebony and Viper are both stronger than Karen, and he can't guarantee his victory in a head-on battle against them. He unequipped all of his traits to pull off an act, luring them to the clock while they have their guards down because inside the clock he installed white phosphorus munitions that cost him over 1 billion. Pretty sure this stuff is banned by the Geneva Convention. He's turns into a character straight out of a romance series, telling the ladies to sleep well and dream about him as he presses the button. It starts to explode, and they realize that they've been caught in the trap, but it's too late as we see their weapons flying through the air. If you've watched till the end, comment, "fried rice," to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.